go. Yeah. Don't. It's fine. I'm sure that I need to talk about that. There we go. I'm sure that they just started barking the moment I said, and we're live. Oh dear, but yes, we are indeed live, and welcome everyone to another episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast. I'm your host for this week, Lucas Holland, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Karl Smallwood. Oh, but yeah, it's just one of those of like, I realised I was still logged into my Twitch, and then just like the dog started barking, an awkward start to the live stream, but it's all gonna be fine. Wait, oh, it's a good start. It's a great start, everyone.
It is a fantastic start. So while Lucas fixes the,
It's fine,
the video
version.
version...
It's fixed. It's okay.
Well, I was going to say, while you fix the video version, I can riff for a moment. But yeah, Lucas, it's your turn to do the intros this week.
It is indeed. And clearly, I'm going to do a great job because I've done a great job of everything so far this stream.
Everything over here is falling apart. We're fine.
You know what? You know what is falling apart, Carl? Just the weather. This past week has gone from like a bit mild to oh shit, it like winter's come in now.
Yeah,
Jack Frost is on the way.
Yeah, my favourite bit as well, when I woke up this morning, my boiler's just not putting any hot water out. But it's putting out enough. I can wash pots, I can soak stuff, but my shower never gets above like just...
So what you're saying is that you haven't showered in like a week now?
I've showered. But I've done. It's worse. I'd rather have a cold shower than have a lukewarm shower.
I will not take this slander. We need to just eradicate the word lukewarm from... I've had enough of Luke meaning just mediocre, okay? That association needs to go.
Okay, I've been having a middling shower, so it's fine. It's one of those things where it's not relaxing. And it's not refreshing like a cold shower would be.
Mm-hmm.
And it does that thing where it gets a little bit warm, so you can feel it getting hot, but then it never gets hot. I'm getting edged by my shower and I don't like it. So I've had showers that have just been woefully unsatisfying. Just like edging.
I can't say that mine have been. So I've been lucky on that front, but like I am really just like I'm mad at the weather, A, because you know I've had to start layering up. And B, because like I was so on top of like my skincare routine lately. And my skin had been getting better. And now that it's decided to be like ice cold and snowy in the last couple of days and stuff, my skin's immediately just started being like, nope, I can't handle it. Dry skin's back. It's like, oh, I was doing so well. Please.
It's like, get your Vaseline. Get your chapstick. Let's go.
Next week, my face is just Vaseline. Just the smooth
water.
blur.
As much water as you can. Speaking of which, if anyone's wondering, like, Carl, why are you drinking green goo? It's I've been writing today. I've written 6,500 words. Literally 20 minutes before we went live, and I finished. It's like, oh, I've had no to eat, so I've got a protein shake with strawberries and assorted greens.
Mm-hmm. But one thing that will brighten up everybody's week and day is, of course, our usual Pet of the Week, Carl.
And Pet of the Week this week is just like, what is that cat doing? What is Callie doing?
Pet of the Week is a lovely little cat called Callie, and we've had a strong showing from the cats recently.
I think it's because just cats inherently, because a dog more often than not will look kind of stupid, but cats always try so hard to look dignified that when you have a cat that doesn't look dignified, it's immediately funny.
Oh god, I'm gonna show everyone because obviously like Pet of the Week is displayed on the video version as like a little kind of I think the format is roughly 16:9. I don't think I technically measured the aspect ratio, but that's roughly what it is. But this is a long picture.
This is a long cat. Do you know what we should start doing? We should start making Pet of the Week the thumbnail on the podcasts.
Oh god, I'd be tempted.
So that way at least people who listen to the podcast version actually know what the Pet of the Week is.
That you started to make more work for me now, Carl.
How much of a ball ache would that be?
Well, it just means making one extra thumbnail every week. It's not that bad, but like...
To be fair, making thumbnails is really difficult.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm just going to show everyone the full majesty of Callie.
So I guess audio listeners, just imagine a really, really long photograph of a cat that's like, "Nyeh."
And you know what? Not in a mean way, but just in like the first thing that it reminded me of just it's a cat stood up and like roughly inside what looks like the frame of like a small table or something underneath,
Or a patio chair.
something like that. Yeah, but what it reminded me of immediately was that Always Sunny episode where Danny DeVito's just stuck in the coil in the playground.
I love that episode that they never explain why he's in there.
He's just in the coil.
And it's just a great episode of like Danny DeVito stuck in a children's play area naked, and they never explain why.
He's got underwear on, it's okay, but he's just like when he's like, oh no, it's nearly the weekend, the kids are gonna be here soon, help me.
This is what there's something about the noise that Danny DeVito makes. Speaking of like, just making an absolute idiot of yourself on camera, any screenshot of Danny DeVito mid breakdown Always Sunny, which is like the episode in the pool, where he emerges from the water like the melting man.
But that's the lovely pet of the week, Callie, right there. And I had to make sure that I kept a full length picture to just capture Callie in their true glory, rather than like.
So people can witness the majesty.
It's one of those of obviously I have to just like kind of crop the picture down to fit the format size, but we had to make sure we knew the full strength of Callie right there.
Yeah, you could have turned it sideways, but that would make everyone. You're not getting like the real picture.
You're not exactly.
Literally.
And before we went live, I did ask people to just jump on the Which Wiki Won This Week poll because we hadn't had too many votes. So let's see.
The two wikis last week were it was Lucas brought to the table Spyro the Dragon, and I brought the list of English foods. So what do people want more? And to clarify, when we ask people to vote for which wiki won this week over in our Discord, it's which wiki you thought brought the best discussion, not which wiki is on the subject that you happen to like the most. So I don't think anyone likes British food or English food more than they like Spyro the Dragon.
Well, that's the thing. Last week, it was Spyro the Dragon versus Spotted Dick. So, we admittedly, you did get the first, 5 solid votes, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be a sweep. But Spyro the Dragon won in the end.
Well played, Monfrere. I'll have to, just hopefully my Spotted Dick will have a better performance next time, a better showing.
And I'm surprised, we did, as for some reason, every time we live stream the podcast, the podcast gets restricted ads for a little bit.
That one I can understand.
I'm not 100% sure why normally, but I'm surprised that video didn't get straight just demonetized.
Yeah,
so at least well done YouTube for that, of realizing that we're not using the term for genitalia, we are using the food. We are talking about the food Spotted Dick. So thank you, YouTube, for just not absolutely cratering that video for us.
Yeah. Although it's still got demonetized, or at least limited ads during its first 7 hours, which every podcast we do does. And YouTube never tells us why, and it always creates our viewerships and analytics. And it's fucking great.
And then every time we say, hey, we think that this meets the guidelines for not being restricted, they're like, yeah, actually, you're right.
Yeah. Could be
Sorry about that. It's you only cost us money and views every single time. It's fine. Don't worry. Don't worry about it.
It happens every single week, right? It's
every time we live stream specifically.
It's there's that dude who just pointed out of when you call up, I don't know, your electricity provider to pay a bill, and they tell you we're experiencing a higher than average volume of calls, and that's what you say every time. You can't say that anymore. That's not how averages work.
Because surely, at some point, the above average level of calls just becomes the average.
Yeah. You can't always be experiencing an above average amount of calls. That's not how averages work.
What happens when you call them at I don't know, 11:22 a.m. as everyone's normally working on a Monday morning or something?
I don't know.
I wonder if they have a higher level than usual calls then.
Probably. Is that when you try and call? It's was it the NHS? You ever tried booking an appointment and just again that tweet that just lives in my head rent free is why do the receptionists at the GP think they're the bouncers for your doctor?
Yeah.
It's you call them up and it's I'm not very well, I want to book an appointment with a doctor, and they start giving you a third fucking degree. Like, well, why do you want to see a doctor? It's like, well, it's private. I want to speak to a doctor, not a receptionist. So I respect people who work in that industry, but I want to speak to a doctor.
Yeah, it's not like patient receptionist confidentiality. It's patient doctor confidentiality, right?
I would like to speak to a doctor about my medical issues.
And I do find it funny when you call up and it's like, well, the GP opens at 8:30 and you call up at 8:31. Like, yeah, no, we've got no more appointments for the day.
Yeah.
It's like fucking trying to buy a ticket off Ticketmaster, isn't it? Like, sorry, we actually opened up like the super duper secret tickets 10 minutes ago before the tickets opened. It's like,
is it like My Chemical Romance have got a show and they're doing dynamic pricing and tickets cost up to $2,500?
That sounds about right, yeah, because the moment I saw that new tour, I was like, well, every single big artist lately has been jumping on that like dynamic pricing and just going, it's not awful, it's Ticketmaster.
Even though I think it was The Cure, the lead singer of The Cure came out. Do you know what we did with YouTube of when YouTubers go, well, mid-roll ads, we don't control that. And it's like, bullshit, mid-roll ads are controlled by
Here's
the creator.
a screenshot of all the controls you have as a creator.
It was the lead singer of The Cure came out and said, yeah, straight up 100%, the artist has complete control over dynamic pricing. They can turn that shit off or tell Ticketmaster to stop it. Because if you're big enough to have like an arena tour handled by Ticketmaster, you're big enough to tell them what the fuck to do. You're big enough to tell them that you don't want to do this, and it's just pure greed.
The majority of the bands know that they can just get away with going, well, Ticketmaster put it on and we have no control, and then sit back and just take more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get, like, look, I know that musicians don't really make much money off the actual ticket sales anymore, and it's rough, but
when they cost $2,500, I bet they do.
Yeah, maybe it should be a case of fuck Ticketmaster and dynamic pricing. Prices as a whole need to go up a little bit, but not to $2,500 fucking grand. But I also just think, like, at what point does it stop? Because ticket prices are 3 times the price I used to pay 5 to 10 years ago already. So at what point do you stop?
It's also like, if for $2,500, I'm not paying $2,500 to go watch My Chemical Romance. I'm sorry. I would rather pay $2,500 and go to a foreign country and stay in a 5-star hotel for a week.
I wouldn't pay $2,500 to go and be like a VIP backstage pass fucking ticket holder.
Yeah.
Let alone to just sit in a stand. Absolutely fuck no. I'm not paying $2,500 to go to any gig.
Yeah, people do, and you know that's a story for another day. And if only there was like some form of entertainment that was cheaper than $2,500, that offered you about as much content as a concert. Because a concert's about 2.5 hours long, right?
Let's not try and say that we are comparable to go and watching a fucking live concert.
I'm not saying we're comparable to watching a gig. I'm just saying that.
Are you one of those people where you play a video game and it's like, well, technically, my $1 per hour on this video game is better than this one, therefore game is better?
No, I don't do that, but I do think the $1 per hour is a very handy metric for how to best use your time.
Well, go play fucking Fortnite. It's free and will last you forever. Have fun with Fortnite forever, Karl.
I'm trying to use this to advertise our content.
I know, but I'm still just... I can't sit here and justify the phrasing that might imply that we're going to be as fun as an MCR gig.
I'm not saying it's as fun.
It's definitely more free.
Yes.
I'll give you that.
The way I put it is I look at like Netflix, for example, where if someone subscribes to our content, I probably watch as much Netflix as if someone watches everything we put out in a month, that's like 15 hours of content. I probably watch 15 hours of Netflix. If I barely watch like 5 hours of Netflix a day, I watch like 3 episodes or whatever's out, and I'm paying £7 a month for that. So you know, I'm trying to say is sometimes just be careful.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to advertise our stuff, and you immediately cut me off. Like, no, don't do that.
No, it was the fact that you just started insinuating, like, well, you know what's better than going to an MCR gig? It's like, no.
I'm just saying. For the same, do you know that thing where it's like the monitor for like the Apple computer, and it's like the monitor stand was like $2,000, and it was pointed out that for the price of the stand for an Apple monitor, you could buy a PC, a PS5, a monitor, a new set of headphones, a year of Disney Plus, PlayStation Plus, and all this stuff. and then have 500 quid cash. Which seems like, a better value add. It's like, so for the price of one MCR ticket, you could subscribe to our Patreon for a month and have $2,500 in your back pocket.
It's true. It's true. But, yeah, I mean, I did that. The thing that I've been trying to not do for a long time, because I'm trying to lower the amount of subscriptions I've got in my life, not make more of them. But I'd had a drink a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
And was just like trying to watch some like music and stuff with a couple of mates on YouTube.
Yes.
And like the ads kept popping up, and then the do you want free YouTube Premium for a month? I was like, yeah, just do it, whatever. I want to watch all these like songs and clips and stuff without all these fucking ads everywhere.
You can never go back. I refuse to watch YouTube because I get so pissed off that YouTube doesn't give me, a content creator who's probably made them tens of thousands of pounds, YouTube Premium.
That's the thing, right? It's like, I know, I'm aware that YouTube pays us every month for putting these videos out, but for any creator that's got, like 10k plus subs, can you just give us a YouTube Premium account?
Even
please?
If you only put it on the account.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Because no more when I'm on the Fact-Fiend account looking for clips and I get adverts for clips on an account that I know has made YouTube thousands upon thousands of dollars. Like, just let this account at least.
Or when I click on our own videos to try and figure out where to put our ads so that it breaks within the content.
Yeah.
Like at the end of a sentence or the end of a clip or something, and I make sure I'm not cutting off a point. When I'm doing that to try and see where to fit it into our own video, I'm getting ads on our video. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But to cut a long story short, I made the jump, and I'm just now annoyed because I want to pay for YouTube Premium, and I'm like, I don't need more things in my life.
Do you know what it is? It's the perfect example of make a product so shit.
It is.
You have to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm on YouTube and I don't use it.
I guess that's like, a good way to pivot into the fact that like, hey, speaking of like, me trying to not make my money problems worse, just so everyone's aware, we won't necessarily be live streaming these podcasts as usual every week. The videos will go live at the same time as they usually do, regardless of whether we're live or whether they're just getting put out, pre-scheduled ahead. But
that's 8 p.m. GMT, right?
Yeah,
roughly.
8 p.m. UK time, because BST, GMT, depending on daylight savings. But 8 p.m. UK time is roughly when the podcast will go out on a Wednesday. Sometimes we'll be live streaming still, sometimes we won't, but I had to get a part-time job, so I just have to keep my schedule free in case I work a shift that day. I might not be here to live stream, so just a heads up for people. It's just one of those things of like, so people aren't sitting there going, well, some weeks are live streamed and some weeks aren't. That's why.
Yeah.
Just I have to keep my schedule free for a job. And yeah, we will make sure that the podcast goes out every week still, but just it might not always be live.
Yeah. And I said, Lucas, I like as well. You knew you were going to go into that bit of housekeeping and still cut me off on the part where I'm trying to promote our Patreon to
because that's how much I disagree with the insinuation that we're as valuable as an MCR gig.
Which was not my intention. I was merely using it as a jumping off point.
I know. And that's why I was trying to cut you off in a light-hearted manner. But yeah, for the rest of like housekeeping and stuff, we can say that to later, because I know we've started this one with a bit more of just a conversation.
We have indeed.
Actually, just one last little thing.
Okay.
My Patreon vote, yet again, ended in a draw. So I'm talking about another classic movie soon on Wiki Weekends.
Yes.
And the Patreon votes out of 4 options, I've left 2 as a draw. So what I'm going to do for everyone in the live chat is put up a poll now of should I watch Mad Max or Tron for the first time ever and make a video about it. So polls go
Tron
live.
Which Mad Max?
Original Mad Max, original Tron.
Okay, that's gonna be interesting. You know what? The discussion will be informed by which one you end up watching.
Because I'm doing that thing, another classic movie that I've never seen, Mad Max or Tron. Patreon couldn't decide, so we're just doing the tiebreaker in chat now live.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, I guess while you're setting that up, let's go through my wiki for this week. And, speaking of kitty cats, little Callie there on stream. The topic I thought we'd talk about today is a Marvel hero who's like probably one of the I don't know how popular they are because I like them as a Marvel hero, but they've never had like a standalone movie, but they've kind of always been there.
Well, they should have had a kind of standalone movie, right?
How do you mean?
Well, one of the X-Men movies got completely changed to rip them out of their own story, basically.
No, that was Rogue. So the character we're talking about is Kitty Pryde.
No, so yes, Kitty Pryde is, I believe, the main character in the comic Days of Future Past.
Yes, and they are in the film adaptation, and the character of Rogue was meant to come in.
Oh no, so what I mean is that when they were taking the comic book and adapting it to movie, they went, well, Wolverine and Rogue need to be the main characters, not Kitty Pryde.
Yes, and the way it worked for the live-action adaptation of Days of Future Past is they instead had Kitty Pryde be the conduit for Logan to travel back in time. And then midway through the film, they were supposed to get stabbed when Wolverine panics and he stabs Kitty Pryde in the ribs.
They were meant to stab Kitty Pryde in the movie, yes.
But she just somehow walks it off. She's the only person who ever gets stabbed.
Is in pain and is like, I can't continue doing this for much longer.
But in the initial cuts, that was going to lead to an entire action scene where Magneto and Iceman go to the prison they are holding Rogue and rescue Rogue, and it results in Iceman being killed.
Oh.
And it was not only is that scene super badass, you get to see Magneto just fuck some shit up. It also explains how the Sentinels work, because the Sentinels, when they goes back in time, they get Mystique's blood, and that's their transformation ability. Their power absorption ability is gained from Rogue. And it also adds some symmetry to the film, right? Of in the future they discover one half how the Sentinels work, and in the past the other half. But they cut that out for time. And there is a version of the film called the Rogue Cut, where they add that back in, and it's slightly longer, but does, I think, make for a better film.
Yeah. So I have been meaning to watch that Rogue Cut, but I just never got round to it. Maybe it's on Disney Plus as an extra version.
You can get the deleted scenes are on Disney Plus, but the actual cut itself might not be. But either way, we're talking about Kitty Pryde or Catherine Pryde. So Kate Pryde, that's three different ways I've pronounced her name, is a Jewish mutant from Illinois with a versatile phasing abilities which allow her to move through solid matter. After her powers first manifested, Pryde was approached by both Emma Frost, the White Queen of the Hellfire Club, and the X-Men. Realizing Frost had vile intentions as she captured and tortured the X-Men, Pryde demonstrated immense bravery and freed the X-Men. And she has quite a storied history with the X-Men, but has kind of not really been... She's been in the movies, played by Elliot Page.
Yeah.
Pre-transition. Hopefully I'm using the terminology here because I know Elliot Page is how they are referred to now.
Yes, yeah.
But at the time, they were Ellen Page.
But yeah.
And Kitty Pryde has also been in X-Men Evolution as Shadowcat and plays quite a big role in that. There's one of the characters alongside Rogue and Nightcrawler and Spike.
I believe X-Men Evolution was where I became most familiar with Shadowcat as a character.
Because the design's really good with a ponytail.
The design of everyone in X-Men Evolution's really good, Carl.
He's fucking phenomenal, yes. But, they're one of the more interesting characters. They've been in the X-Men for, literally decades. And they've been in the live-action movies. I think almost every live-action movie has them in there.
I think from X2, and then, in that timeline, so I think they're in X2, X3, and then they get brought in for Days of Future Past.
They have a cameo in X1 where you see the character run through a wall, but it's a different actress. You have the girl who's collecting their books and they run through Wolverine, but they'd not yet cast.
Oh, but they hadn't actually cast Elliot Page yet to make sure they were a proper character. It was just cameo at that point.
Yeah, I still think my favorite character in those early live action X-Men movies is that kid who changes the channel with his eyes. And he has a cameo in the first three movies, and he's just the kid who changes the channel with his eyes.
And that's one of those ones where I've seen different articles and videos and stuff of stupid X-Men that they never should have sent out as X-Men,
Yeah.
That kid's definitely one of those where just leave the kid in the mansion. Don't ever send them out as part of like the X-Men.
Well, the thing is, his power is actually super broken. His power is he's got technopathy, which is the ability to commune with and control technology with his thoughts.
Oh,
Which, if you
okay.
think about it, everything is technology.
Yeah,
If your
the more
opponent
and
has
more,
an iPhone,
I was going to say, like, the more and more modern that film is set, the more broken that ability becomes, right?
so do you remember when like Samsung were releasing phones that just detonated in people's pockets and blew the testicles off? That's everyone
Yeah.
in the 2020s against that kid. Like,
God, yeah.
where do you keep your phone normally? In your pocket next to your balls? Not anymore.
Oh God.
But yes, we're going to go through like the basic biographical information of Katie Pryde now. Full name is Catherine Ann Kate or Kitty Pryde, and her aliases include, obviously the most famous one is of course what, Lucas?
It would be phasing through objects.
What's a power? What's a name?
I thought you said what was a power.
No, sorry, a name.
A name. Well, a most famous alias is Shadowcat.
Well, is
the
it spelled with a C or a K?
Oh, I would assume a C.
Well, both answers are right because it's spelled alternately with a C or a K, depending on which comic she's in.
Oh,
So some comics it's Shadowcat with a C, other times it's Shadowcat with a K, because one of the other nicknames is Cat or Kitty.
so it just depends on whether Ed Boon is writing that comic.
Yeah. She'd be great in Mortal Kombat. She could never do a fucking fatality on her.
Yeah, just every time you go
everything
to punch her, she just phases.
But her other nicknames include Ariel, the Red Queen, Sprite, Star Lady, and Star Lord. So she was Star Lord for a little bit. Then her nicknames include the Half Pint, Kitten, Kitty Freud, Lion. That was when she grew up. Petal, Pumpkin, Suburbia. And other aliases are Captain Kate Pride, Daughter of the Demon, Florence Pride and Gale. That's a tortured ass pun right there.
It is.
Katarina Pride, Catherine Pride, and Professor Kitty. Professor Kitty Cat.
So, to clarify, just for anyone that's listening, we are talking just the comic book version and not the any of the film versions or anything like that.
Yeah, but the film versions are inspired by the Kitty Cat.
Yeah,
the powers will be roughly the same, besides like whatever changes they made to suit a live action adaptation. And there's not really anything else to mention besides the fact that unusual features is that she used to have tattoos on her knuckles.
Oh no!
The really cringy ones that said like Shadow Cat or Kitty Cat across the knuckles.
God. It's just, I mean, it can look okay on some characters that are very overly tattooed and it just blends in with the rest of them. But when you've got one tattoo, like 1/8
technically
tattoos.
You'd have like 1, 2, you'd have 8.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
When your thumbs as
technically, you'd have like 8 or 10 tattoos, but it makes up one tattoo, right? Of just, it's got to be some of the cringiest tattoos to just have, like, on its own.
Yeah, and it's that thing of they say they are formally, so she hadn't removed. So she must have had an edgy redesign in the 90s, like every other character, and just not kept that aspect of their design. Remember what we talked about Mystique, and Mystique turned into a demon in one comic book? And then they wrote that shit out and said, even though she technically can still look like a demon cat lady, she retains her original form from the 90s. Because the writer who came up with that redesign was fucking fired because it was wank.
And one thing I'm wondering, could Kitty Pryde phase tattoos out of her body?
Probably. You know what? Let's find out. So we have our powers and abilities here, Lucas. So the power grid, which anyone unfamiliar, is a ranking system, 1 to 7, 1 being an average human, 7 being nigh omnipotent or godlike in that specific regard. And for Kitty Pryde, her intelligence is a 4, her strength is a 2, her speed is a 2, her durability is a 3. I'd argue it should be infinite because she physically can't be harmed or touched. If she goes into her phasing form, how are you supposed to hurt her?
Well, you could just be Sue Storm and blow up her insides.
There'll be some. I guess as well, it's not technically durability, right? Because she can't particularly take like a punch or anything. Apparently, she can because her powers afford her higher than an average human for a durability.
Yeah, it's just a weird way to clarify, because technically she can't take a hit. It's that she can avoid hits better than nearly everyone else.
No one can hit her, yeah. And her energy projection is a 1, and her fighting skills are a 5, which is pretty strong.
Yeah,
like,
energy
fighting skills were 5, that's like, the best to be a 7, that's like your Wolverines, your Captain Americas, your Black Panthers. But a 5, that's up there.
I presume that's where her powers are most taking effect on the power grid, then, is within fighting skills, because you can, utilize phasing in and out of objects very well.
Well, all you do is just make your body intangible, right? It's something like that happens in one of the movies. There's a fight scene, I forget what characters they're in a fight scene with, but someone punches through, they go completely through them, and then just Shadow Cat grabs them on the shoulders and phases through the floor.
But there is the point where...
slams them into the floor.
There's the point in X3 where the Juggernaut's trying to chase them to the, the vaccine child or whatever it fucking is.
Yeah.
And then... Yeah, she just grabs Juggernaut, phases down, and leaves him stuck in the ground.
Yeah. Which just seems like a really good way to end a fight instantly.
Yeah, right?
I can't imagine there's if that wasn't the Juggernaut, that character would have been instantly stopped, right? Any other character but the Juggernaut would have been stuck then.
And my real question with Shadowcat is, when are they going to start just fighting like Lemillion does? Lemillion, yeah.
Well, it's the thing, like, anime take, the thing we always talk about when it comes to Marvel characters is that they have really interesting powers that are seldom utilized in ways that are interesting. And Lemillion from My Hero is a sterling example of how you make intangibility a broken ass superpower.
Yeah, right? Because it's just, well, where is he? Oh, he's always behind you. He's just naked man popping up behind you at all times. You'll never know where he is.
So they clarify as well, he's got no super strength. But what do you do when a guy who's really buff, he works out a lot, but he's strong, but he's not super strong, phases through your attack and punches you square in the testicles? There's not really anything you could do about that, right?
And he just spends most of his time underground, and I think he also because what it says is that he sinks into the ground, and it's almost as if the particles reject him back out at super speed. So he also incorporates that into his punching style of coming out of objects super fast and hitting them with the force of that speed.
Yeah, and then he talks about how he can control his phasing ability. He mentions his dad has the same power and just works in an office because his power is so dangerous, because if you don't concentrate at all times to not phase through objects, you'll fall through the floor.
Yeah, and basically it's one of those of he always got told he had a crap power, because most people using his power of being able to phase in and out of things, most people would just get stuck in a wall somewhere.
Yeah. Or they get rejected by the thing and just get immediately thrown out, right?
And obviously, I'm sure the way that Marvel Comics have dealt with Kitty being able to face through a wall is different from the way My Hero explains it. They have created different rule sets, but just the idea that, well, if someone with Kitty Pryde's power sucked, they'd just be stuck in a wall somewhere.
Well, there is actually it's a really scary moment as well. I remember as a kid, it really freaked me out. Where there's a Batman of the Future villain, or Batman Beyond, depending on which market you're from. And in that, there's a guy who develops a belt, and the belt makes him intangible. And he uses it to rob banks. And he wears a suit that controls the powers, which allows him to adjust how intangible he is. Then the belt stops controlling it. And there's just a moment where, future Batman, he's trying to get to him and he falls through the floor. And he's desperately trying to grab onto something and he keeps falling. And he's on top of a skyscraper and Batman runs all the way down to the bottom and he just falls into the earth. And he calls up Bruce Wayne. He's like, so what's going to happen? It's well, I think he's going to keep falling. And then he'll get to the center of the earth and then I don't know what happens. And they never address what happens to that guy ever again.
Because if he doesn't stay perfectly intangible the entire way down, then at some point he's either going to get trapped inside the earth somewhere. Or
just going to fall down and be trapped at the center of the earth in complete pitch black.
Well, I think
forever.
The way that it would technically work if you're intangible all the way down, if you had a hole going all the way from one side of the earth to the other, provided that you weren't going to get melted in the Earth's core, you would go all the way to the other side, because, like, gravity would speed you up and then slow you down.
But, like, how force works is it wouldn't... Actually, I guess you'd have no friction affecting him, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But then he won't be able to grab on at the other end. It's, whatever it happens is they never talk about that guy
Maybe
again.
they're just stuck in a loop going up and down.
Yeah. Whatever it is, that guy's fucked. And like I said, they never talk about him ever again. It's like, well, that power sucks. But you know what? So let's move on to Kitty Pryde's version of the power. So, phasing/intangibility. Kitty possesses the ability to pass through solid matter and objects by passing her atoms through the space between the atoms of an object. And I like how they explain it. That is a thing. That does happen. Well, that is a thing, like, in physics and science of... You've probably heard in physics class, right, that 90% of every object you see is just empty space. It's the space between the atoms.
Yeah, it's that, like, thing of, like, well, like quantum physics, right? If I'm not remembering, of, like, theoretically, you could walk into a wall and walk out the other side if none of the atoms in either you or the wall ever collided. But just...
Well, the odds of that happening are like 85 trillion to 1 because of the billions or trillions of atoms that are inside of you. So I guess it just works on that principle of, like, if just you control them and you could just align them perfectly to slip through the gaps that are present in near enough every physical object in existence.
It's one of those where, like, hypothetically in a theoretical situation you could do it, but it's never going to happen.
Never going to happen, yeah. In this way, she and the objects through which she is passing could temporarily merge without interacting, and each is unharmed when Kitty has finished passing through the object. This process is called phasing. When Shadowcat is phasing, she is, for all intents and purposes, wholly intangible. Hence, when attacked, she can shift into a phasing state, even if she is not at the time passing through an object, so as to allow the object, like such as a projectile or an energy blast, to pass through her harmlessly, rendering her wholly and virtually untouchable.
Yeah, again, just it's pretty great power because it doesn't make you invincible, but provided that you know what's coming, it nearly does.
Yeah, it's the thing of like there's nothing that can actually hurt her, unless, like, we get to the powers and abilities, like the weakness section. Well, presumably she does have a weakness or two, but as it stands right now,
imagine that, like, she's still got to die in space, right? She still presumably requires the oxygen to breathe and things like that.
Well, let's find out. We don't know what she's like in a phase state. That's not been clarified yet. We just mentioned that after she was injured in a battle, her phase state became her natural state, and she had to concentrate to remain solid. Well, that's no longer the case. Yeah. It is. And she has the ability to selectively phase, so she can make all or a single part of her body intangible while leaving the rest solid. Using this ability, she can walk on both air and water. In fact, she can use the ability to walk from the ground to the upper stories of a building as if she was simply climbing a staircase. So she can walk on air or water by just phasing.
I still don't know how that works because you're not making the air solid, but okay, sure.
Whatever, right? From the first use of her power, so this is like intangibility extension, Kitty was able to phase her clothing along with herself. So Lemillion, that's what he talks about, right? Of like the second he does it, he just sees all his clothes fall off. I think in like the manga, he does find an outfit that stops doing that. They invent one so he doesn't have to be buck-ass naked.
Yeah, his superhero suit stays on him. It's like that the Fantastic Four movie, right? Yeah. Where it's like, well, regular clothes don't work unless I'm in a dance club and a stretch. But other than that, our clothes won't, do anything to help out our powers. But I've developed like the Fantastic Four suits that will.
It mentions here that she is able to extend this ability to things that are physically touching her. For example, an entire human being, or in one case, a skyscraper that was falling through the air that she held onto and phased the entire skyscraper into the earth harmlessly so it didn't cause any damage.
Okay.
So she phased a skyscraper into the ground, so there's no problem anymore. When a kinetic warhead struck outside the X-Mansion, she phased the ground at the point of impact, creating a corridor of phased space that carried the missile several miles underground before it impacted, negating the blast. So she individually created like a corridor. Do you played Resident Evil yesterday and you shot that railgun and it goes 8 mile of building? She did that to the floor and the missile landed in that, and then she stopped phasing and then it was stuck inside the earth where it just exploded, surrounded by 1 million tons of dirt that just compacted the explosion and stopped any damage.
That's the thing, right? It's like, okay, you can make an entire skyscraper intangible and put it inside the Earth's core or the Earth's crust or whatever she did, but they've still got to find space to put that skyscraper in there. Then
you know what? Physics can sort it out. Physics can figure out what the fuck is going on. It's not my problem anymore. Mentions that she's learned after much training to control an object for a short period of time after she breaks contact. For example, she threw a soldier through a wall. So she phased him through a wall, and then when he became solid, he was on the other side of the walls and no longer a threat.
Again, what happens if you miscalculate that and he gets stuck halfway?
It was like, good luck having no legs, mate. Elemental intangibility. After allowing elements to pass through her harmlessly. The extent of this includes water, fire, earth, air, energy, electricity, and even lightning bolts. So the Avatar would have no chance.
Yeah.
The fuck's the Avatar gonna do?
Use the power of friendship.
Phased or / intangible disruption. Kitty can easily damage tangible matter by passing right through it. For example, when phasing through an object with an electrical system or currents, the process often disrupts the system's working by interfering with the flow of power through the circuit. She can, if she so chooses, selectively disrupt a person's nervous system, blood flow, or other internal processes in the same way. So with a simple wave of her hand, she can just stop your brain working. So normally like a backhand is quite distracting and surprising. Her backhands just put you into a coma.
Does it mean she can do the opposite of give a literal wake-up slap?
Maybe. It mentions that her own body, though, is equally as open to disruption. So, for example, she could theoretically materialize a hand inside of somebody's head, in effect killing them, but she would risk losing her hand in the process.
Because essentially she's making two bodies become one at that point.
Yeah. And her body is just as susceptible to damage as the person she's attacking. However, she has practice to be precise with this effect. For example, while concentrating and calm, she can set off a micro concussion by hitting them with one of her fingers. So just gently phase the finger in and just disrupt the, your synapses.
The only thing I can imagine is, the visual in Deadpool and Wolverine where they put the hands inside the head.
Oh, yeah, I hate that. Do you know a detail as well that really freaked me out, and now I don't think I can rewatch that movie? Is the actress who played Cassandra Cain talks about the makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Where, they put a bald cap on her. The detail that I didn't know was present on her design, but she talks about, you see it in the behind the scenes, is she has makeup to make each of her fingers slightly longer.
Longer, yeah.
All of her fingers have an extra knuckle. And as soon as you see that, you can't unsee it, and it's so unsettling.
Yeah, it's like, because, I watched the assembled...
That's what I watched, and that's why I saw
behind the scenes,
yeah.
The other week when it came out, and it's like
the super long fingers.
So just the slightly longer fingers of you don't notice it until you notice it, and then you really notice it.
It's like that legendary shit post, isn't it? Of that weird material that as soon as you put it in water, it goes clear. So I want to get that material and make a human body-sized piece of that, but give it slightly longer than normal fingers, and just leave it in the bottom of a swimming pool. So just when you're swimming underwater out of the corner of your eye, every now and again you just see this humanoid finger with super long fingers coming towards you.
Oh, that's
Look, Lucas, here's one, and this is fucking great. She can use her phasing to travel. While Kitty is phased and the planet continues to spin beneath her, she can use this to travel specifically from east to west at a rate of 9 kilometers per minute.
Odd.
So it looks like the Earth is constantly spinning.
Yeah. So is that just the speed that the Earth is spinning then?
Or in that specific direction. So if she wants to, she can travel in that specific direction at 9 kilometers per minute. And I feel like the Earth must spin. Can you check, Lucas, how fast does the Earth rotate in a second?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I'm doing some just fact checking already.
Yeah, I want to know how fast the Earth spins. That 9 kilometers per minute seems a lot slower than I would have thought it would be, because the Earth is spinning 16,000 miles an hour.
I'll have a look.
Yeah.
No, just Black Zircon mentioned in chat, so thank you for the correction. Just Emma Corrin uses they them pronouns, not.
Okay, my bad.
So yeah, just apologies. We were not aware, but yeah, Emma Louise Corrin goes by they them from the looks of it. So
we try our best. Like, I normally try to stick to using gender neutral pronouns. It's just a habit I've gotten into. Cause it's better, right? Because it's
just easier because then you don't make a mistake. Yeah, boy.
Well, that one about
30,000 kilometers an hour through space, but I'll check what.
When it's rotating specifically, how fast does the Earth rotate? That seems oddly slow.
About 1,000 miles per hour at the equator.
Oh, I guess it must. Either way,
but obviously,
however,
it must be at all points of the Earth spinning like apart from at the direct poles, right?
Yeah,
that's hard to Yeah, okay.
But basically, however fast the Earth is spinning, she can move that fast.
Well, not necessarily
in specific direction.
9 kilometers an hour. Oh, 9 kilometers a minute, did you say? Sorry.
Yeah.
9 kilometers a minute.
It's nowhere near like the 10,000 kilometers an hour.
Well, what? 1,600 kilometers an hour divided by 60. Let's do more maths.
Death battle, we ain't.
No.
Because here's the thing I'm thinking, right? If you could time this right, because if you've got Nightcrawler on your team, and Nightcrawler can calculate where you need to teleport Kitty exactly where she needs to be traveling at that speed when she hits the enemy, and do that phase, then phase out with her arm outstretched for a clothesline. And just do the Earth-assisted clothesline.
So, at the Earth's equator, the Earth spins at roughly 26.6 recurring kilometers per minute. So, it seems as though Kitty Pryde has the ability to do that at like a third the speed that the Earth spins, which might just be America because like she's an American
maybe it is accurate.
Character, something like that. But 9 kilometers per minute is nothing to really laugh at.
No, it's probably pretty fast, right? And then we have a telepathic immunity. When phased, telepathic abilities have no effect on Kitty because there's no mind there. It's suspected that elements of her psyche could reside in alternate dimensions. Because that's the thing with Marvel, right? Of like, well, she's intangible. There needs to be something of her there somewhere, otherwise she wouldn't be able to become tangible again and exist. Same thing with like Sandman, right? Where there is like the single grain of sand that is supposedly that Sandman.
the Sandman is that.
There's one grain of sand that is Sandman, and if you could get that, you could stop Sandman from like being Sandman.
That is like a nucleus to the person.
Yeah, because there has to be one part of Sandman that is Sandman, right? Because how could he lose sand? Same with Iceman. When he travels through water, they say like he exists as one of the water molecules, so it's almost impossible to get him, but he is in there somewhere, like his consciousness.
And then Kitty Pryde, it's not that her body ceases to exist, it's that it ceases to exist in that plane of reality.
Yeah. It's similar to like they talk about Ant-Man, right? Where like his mass gets shunted into another dimension that they're not familiar with. And here's something, Lucas: hyperdensity. Dr. Doom performed numerous extensive studies of Kate's powers in order to keep her molecules from permanently drifting apart. So she must have needed help. I presume that she got injured and had to concentrate to stay, like, solid. Years later, he manipulated her powers to make Kate extraordinarily dense and heavy enough to crash through the floor. Whether she could learn this effect consciously and manifest it is not known. But it's presumed...
So it's there, but no idea whether Kitty Pryde can actually control that or not.
Yeah, it's presumed that she potentially could, because it's just the inverse of our powers. Where if she concentrated her powers in the alternate direction, the same way she allows her molecules to phase through others, she could just hyper condense them and become super strong.
That's kind of just one of those powers where clearly she needs more training, right? She can figure it out, but she hasn't gotten there yet.
He mentions here that the most recent power is that of the Black Vortex Empowerment. After exposure to the powers of the Black Vortex, Kitty's cosmic potential was unleashed, improving all of her previous abilities, and she can now phase through not just physical objects, but different planes of existence.
Oh, okay. When it's the explanation is, well, in theory, her body is in a different plane of reality. It's like, well, now I can phase through every plane of reality. Fuck you.
I'm going to phase into the afterlife and kick the fuck out of your soul. What are you going to do about it? And then it says here her abilities. She's a master martial artist. She possesses moderate expertise in martial arts, specifically those of the Japanese ninja and samurai. So she's a huge weeb. She knows Wolverine, makes sense. Shadowcat demonstrated great knowledge of ninja methods. She's gonna be a fucking good ninja, right? She's walk through walls.
Because it's one of those things of, well, generally speaking, what's the stereotype when we think of ninjas? They can hide really well. What about when they can just run through walls instead?
She's just in the wall, right? She's also a master swordsman, trained extensively at swordplay, especially the use of the samurai sword and Japanese blades. The Silver Samurai have stated that her skills with a sword may surpass those of Wolverine. And considering that Wolverine's a master of all combat and lived in Japan for like a decade.
But that doesn't give us any reference for how good Wolverine actually is with a sword.
Wolverine can fight with everything.
I'm sure he can. I'm sure he can. As you say, he lived in Japan for a long time and is also just weaving it up.
As well, he's like Marvel's Batman, where he can do everything.
Yes.
But you mentioned that she did hold her own against the Silver Samurai, who's one of the greatest swordsmen in Marvel, though the battle was staged.
I thought for a second you were about to say the Silver Surfer. I was like, holy crap, that's powerful as fuck.
She has dance training. She is trained extensively in ballet and modern dance, which they do reference in X-Men Evolution. Where one of the best scenes in X-Men Evolution, the one people always bring up, it's Shadowcat and Rogue dancing.
Mm.
And like Rogue's like really shit at dancing. And he said, why don't you just give like Shadowcat a little tap, then you learn how to dance like her. And the comments to that video, because I think I put it in like a video where you mentioned Rogue. Every comment to that video is just this awakened something inside of me and I didn't realise it.
I don't know if that's how Rogue's abilities work, because
she steals knowledge, right? She steals knowledge, experiences, and talent.
Does she? I couldn't remember from the Wiki Weekends video on Rogue. Is a bit old now, so I couldn't remember whether she also steals like experiences and stuff.
And skills, yeah. And that's what they mentioned of
powers. Like,
she's a genius level.
I was going to say, I suppose that's kind of one of those necessary side effects that we talk about, right? Is that if you only stole someone's power and not their knowledge and experience using it, then it would be useless anyway. Yeah,
because you wouldn't know what to do with it, right? So she also has genius-level computer expertise. So she's an expert in the field of computer science, demonstrating a genius-level aptitude for programming, modifying, and diagnosing almost any computer system, even those of unfamiliar or extraterrestrial origin. She used her skills in many high-stress situations to great effect, and in combination with her mutant ability to disrupt electrical systems, was a formidable foe for any enemy relying on advanced technology.
So maybe that's why they don't send the kid out. It probably just keeps messing with his equipment.
Yeah, and multilingual. She speaks Japanese, Russian, and the royal standard language of the Shia Empire, as well as Skrullos. She also knows several profanities in other languages, learned from Wolverine.
Of course.
And her weaknesses, while phasing, she is still vulnerable to magical or mystical attacks, such as those inflicted by the Soul Sword. So she was in Soul Calibur, apparently, I never knew.
So raw. Just Soul Ledge
And then the limitations to her phasing. So denser materials were initially more difficult for her to phase through, sometimes causing her physical pain. For example, adamantium, even to this day, still makes her sick to go through.
But she can go through it.
She can. It causes her great discomfort. Mm-hmm. And even with her like upgraded abilities, adamantium is still like the one thing that causes her issue.
So even in a fight against Wolverine, if she started just phasing through all of its attacks, eventually it would be sucky for her.
It makes her feel a bit sick, yeah. And you mentioned that phasing limitations. The main one is that it's an active ability. She has to consciously will her body to become intangible. So it's only as fast as her reactions are, and she can be taken by surprise, such as Deadpool uppercutting her when she wasn't expecting it, which is a very Deadpool thing to do, right?
And that's what I was talking about earlier, right? Is that in theory, there's most things that you could basically be invincible to, but you have to be conscious of all of those threats.
Yeah.
Because, again, she has to physically decide that she's phasing through things.
Yeah, and then we have just like, some trivia. So the first bit of trivia is that the creator of Kitty Pryde, Chris Claremont, has stated he intended for the love of Kitty's life to be Rachel Summers, and therefore she is bisexual. However, this never came to pass during Claremont's run of writing her, because it was forbidden under the Comics Code Authority.
Forbidden?
Here's the thing. Some people are just gay. Did you know that, Lucas?
I'm aware, and the fact that, like, comics decided, all of comics decide no gay people are forbidden. It's like great,
Yeah.
Bob.
So until they realize, wait, do gay people buy comics? Like, they buy a lot of them.
They
Shit!
spend a lot of money, yeah.
So after a resurrection as the Red Queen, she was shown kissing her female tattoo artist, confirming that she is in fact bisexual. Something that was repeatedly hinted at, though never outright confirmed, due to the aforementioned reasons.
I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? Sometimes we do get a bit negative, and it's hard to in these times always stay lighthearted and positive. Sometimes things get to us. But at very least, we can sit there knowing at least people are allowed to be gay in comics now. At least that's one bit of progress that has been made.
It's always that bad. It's like the Hays Code. That's like the television equivalent back in the day, where it was forbidden from showing, for example, a man and a woman sharing the same bed, even if said man and woman were in a relationship or married. And this resulted in a really funny unintended side effect. For example, when there was like the Adventures of Superman in the 50s, they wanted to have Superman live with Lois Lane, but they weren't allowed. So instead, every morning it would show Superman waking up in the same bedroom, though not in the same bed, as Jimmy Olsen.
Because that's way more normal than him just being in the same bedroom as Lois Lane, right?
The same bed as the person he's dating.
Yeah.
It's
What's way more normal is that he sleeps in the same bedroom as a fucking child.
Yep. It was like I Love Lucy, like one of the original sitcoms, where the actress cast her own husband as her husband in the show, and they told her, we can't have scenes of you kissing because he's Cuban.
Oh.
And there's rules on the books about interracial relationships to be shown on television. It's like, it's my fucking husband. And she was like, bollocks to you, I'm putting it in.
And did they?
Of course they did, yeah. She put it straight in. Like, it was Lucille Ball did not fuck around.
I really don't know much about I Love Lucy, to be honest.
It's one of those shows where, even if you're not familiar with it, you will recognise it because it pioneered sitcoms.
I'm aware of it via reputation, but that's all, like, kind of all I know is that it's basically the original sitcom. But that's
and she was having fucking none of it. But we have
cool.
here final bit of trivia. So Kitty Pryde has gone through many aliases, expressing a struggle to decide on a definitive visual identity as a superheroine. She has gone by the following names in comics: Sprite. So that was her first code name, an umbrella term for folkloric entities that are ethereal, a direct reference to Pryde's phasing powers. I can see that, right? Especially when she was like a teenager when she joined the team.
Yeah, I just got thrown off a little bit because I don't know what it's like in the comics, but Sprite in the Eternals movie was one of the Eternals, right?
Yeah. We have here Ariel, originally proposed by... so that was Professor X. That was what he proposed, and she initially rejected it. This identity got applied to her in a couple of stories, most prominently in Marvel graphic novel number 5, but it was never effectively used in any Uncanny X-Men comic. Ariel refers to the character in the Shakespearean play The Tempest and represents the direct opposition to the Morlock Caliban, who is also named after a character in the same play. In the play, both Ariel and Caliban were servants to the sorcerer Prospero, but while Ariel was a gracious aerial spirit, Caliban was a grotesque creature. So again, leading into that the idea and the visuals of her being like ethereal, ghostly, just flitting around.
Mm-hmm.
Shadowcat. After being corrupted by Ogun in her sojourn in Japan, Bride experienced drastic changes in her soul. Embracing the dark aspects of her growth as an adventurer, she chose the name Shadowcat to represent that she was not a kitty anymore.
Oh no!
I had no idea that the Shadowcat nickname and alias had such an edgy backstory.
Yeah, I didn't know it was so cringy. God damn it.
Is that more or less cringy than Samus in Other M adopting, giving a thumbs down? As her like thing to show that she's a strong, independent woman.
It's like, fuck you, Other M. Fuck you.
She also adopted the Star-Lord moniker. So when her fiance, Peter Quill, abandoned his role as Star-Lord to assume the throne of Spartax, she has stepped in to replace him and temporarily act with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So she's dating Peter Quill for a little bit. And then the Red Queen, having been invited to join the Hellfire Trading Company Board of Executives on Krakoa as a monarch, Captain Katie Pride of the Marauders assumed the position of the Red Queen upon the other two sects of the Hellfire Club, the White Queen and the Black King.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm more interested in just the idea of like,
Pirate Kitty Pride.
Yeah. Captain Marauder Katie Pride.
Imagine going to space and thinking I'm going to be a pirate on Earth.
I mean, it depends what order things happened in, right? But...
I guess so, yeah. And then finally, it's been shown that she initially hesitated between the codenames Phase and Phantom Girl, while Wolverine proposed the name Mute Girl and called her Suburbia. It is unclear how any of these possibilities will fit into the original Uncanny X-Men chronology. And like Phase is a bit generic, but it's fitting, right?
What if they spelled it with an F? And it was like a 90s edgy nickname, like Phase.
Well, there is that like offshoot of like Carnage that's called Phage.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Phage, and it's like, oh, and that's like alongside like Riot and Lasher.
And Scream, the other one, right?
Scream, yeah.
I think they're just called Scream, yeah. God, those...
Of all of those, I think Shadowcat's the best one. And I didn't realise it had that edgy-ass backstory, because I was only familiar with Shadowcat from the X-Men live-action movies and the X-Men Evolution cartoons. But she's not an edgy character.
Yeah, not really. And then I've seen snippets of the comic book Days of Future Past just because I read up on the fact that, well, it was meant to more be Kitty Pryde's story, but yeah, sure, I guess Hugh Jackman sells more tickets, right?
I guess he does, yeah. Even though they work together in the cards. But whatever, yeah, and that's Shadowcat. Phase. Let's go for that, like, 9 kilometer per second clothesline. Let's do it. Imagine, like, the spear. Imagine, not a clothesline, a spear. It's like Goldberg with a spear, but she does it through a wall. Like, imagine you just stood there and then suddenly someone flies out at, like, several hundred miles an hour and just fucking spears you in the dick.
The fact as well that your reference to a wrestler doing the spear was Goldberg over Edge.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about this.
I think as well, do you know the ability where it's like, oh, if she phases through, if she goes like the Earth's momentum, and they say that she can control someone to be phased for a split second, just do that to get rid of all the villains, right? Phase them, and then they go at the speed the Earth is rotating away from your location, and then a few seconds later become solid again.
I guess if you just send them, like, what, a kilometer away, it's handy. It's not going to get you, it's not going to save you too much time, but, like, if you can just push them a kilometer away at a time.
Effectively, that's what she's doing, right? She walks up and pushes you, and you go a kilometer backwards.
Yeah. If she can do it...
I'd do it to cars. I just do it to cars, so randomly cars just go, do you like, you ever put that cheat in on like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, where if you hit a car, it'd float off into space?
Oh yeah.
But you hit it really lightly, so it goes like at 1 mile an hour.
It's like,
just do that.
Oh, I mean, I'm just trying to imagine, because obviously, you know, first thing that comes into my head when I'm thinking of X-Men villain was Magneto. And I think Magneto would just get pissed off getting pushed away by a kilometer or so. But what about if you do that to the Juggernaut, who can't stop?
Oh, God. He's gone.
Because if you do that, if you just make the Juggernaut go at 9 kilometers a minute, or even a brief period of time, technically his power set is that he can't stop when he starts moving.
Well, the thing about the Juggernaut is it's the direction he himself moves in.
Yeah, right. I was thinking it was that, yeah. What about if you just speed him up? If you just speed him up a little.
Has anyone ever tried that? Has anyone ever tried speeding the Juggernaut up so he can't stop?
Like, I'm imagining, like, you know, when Quicksilver in the movies does the thing of, like, grabs the back of your head and runs with you. Just does that to Juggernaut and gets him to escape velocity, and then he can never stop.
Has anyone ever tried, like, untying his shoes? That's the thing as well, with the Juggernaut's powers, if he falls over, he's just going to keep falling over. He's going to fall over for a long time, right? But yeah, that's Kitty Pryde, a.k.a. Shadowcat. aka FaZe, aka the Red Queen, aka all those other names.
At least this time, though,
yes,
compared to when we did the Wiki Weekends video on Sue Storm not long ago, Dick Exploder, or I can't remember what we had to. No, I can't remember. I think I just put Penis Exploder as the title.
Penis Detonator.
Yeah, the Penis Detonator, Sue Storm. But when we went through her band names, it was like, oh, she's got no nicknames.
Yeah.
So at least Shadowcat actually has some, admittedly cringy, but some nicknames.
Yeah, it shows that the character has agency within the comic she hails from because she decides against certain names and takes on other mantles, right? I do like when characters take on the mantles of other superheroes. Like, every now and again, like, someone will just say, okay, I'll be fucking, like, Wolverine
Venom.
for a little bit.
I'll be Venom. And that's what everyone in the comics said. I'll be Venom.
No, they don't become Venom, though. They just get the Venom symbiote.
Well, they do become Venom, right? Because
I guess technically
the whole point
Venom,
of Venom is that
Venom.
It's symbiotic, and they all Venom together with the symbiote. There is, like, the Venom symbiote, but the character Venom is, like, considered both entities.
Yeah. Either way, yeah. So, are you ready to move on to yours, Lucas, or would you like to take a break? I'm not sure if you need to take a break or not.
Well, I should probably just take a quick break, yeah.
Okay, no problem. In which case, then we'll return momentarily.
We will be back in a couple of minutes. So let me just, Carl, you can feel free to run, but I'm gonna just
I'll just go and make sure I just rinse out this bottle so I don't get that awful like water bottle smell when you don't rinse it out properly.
Gonna make sure that Callie is large and in charge.
Large and or in charge.
So just enjoy Callie's lovely face while we go take a break. I'll pop background music on in a moment. Do not.
So we're back more for
we should be able to be seen but not heard at the minute. Heard but not seen at the minute, but now...
Ooh, just like the naughtiest of children.
Now we can...
We're the inverse of a good British child who should be seen and not heard. We're going to be heard and definitely not seen.
Oh god, that phrase always just reminds me of the Arrested Development joke where they're like, the school that Buster went to make sure that, like, the children are always, like, never seen and never heard or whatever it is, and it's just Buster, like, constantly hiding behind things in the background, just like...
That's a good lesson for your child, that.
Just should never be seen or heard. It's just, no.
I'm sure all the parents who encourage their children not to communicate with them have very healthy relationships with them now. Either way, yes. So that was my entry on Kitty Pryde. And before we move on to yours, we do have a few bits more of housekeeping, yes, because we mentioned in the intro, you are getting to, or that videos in future may not go out live because you are looking to get out there, put yourself out a bit, right?
Well, yeah, I say got a part-time job. Just
what's how you want to word it? I'm say put yourself out there a bit.
I feel like that's a bit ambiguous, Carl. I don't want to leave it.
It is indeed.
No, I decided to just go knocking back on the old Nando's door and was like, hey, be handy to get some extra shifts in just to help support myself while we are trying to make Wiki Weekends a thing.
Yes, so we're making Wiki Weekends a thing, but also, just there's going to be an update video for the channel in that vein. So next week for Black Friday's next week, right?
So it's not going out on Black Friday. It's going out on the Monday. It should.
Yeah, it should. In anticipation of that week being Black Friday, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We decided going out.
The world is asking for your money next week. Why shouldn't we join in?
Exactly. Yes, but that video will also contain updates and our plans for the upcoming year. So that'll be our plans for Wiki Weekends for the year 2025. So that will include just like what we plan to do, what our goals are, and how we hope to achieve them.
Yeah, and obviously Patreon is part of that platform, hence why I'm like joking about us asking for money. It's like, yeah, just there'll be updates and stretch goals for the Patreon and stuff that we're going to be announcing in an update that hopefully, provided everything goes as planned, should be going out on Monday on the channel for those who are interested in knowing what our future plans are, including hopefully the thing that we've mentioned already, which is launching a secondary channel which will be gaming focused.
It will indeed, and I believe that does lead us to your wiki for this week, because if I've got the thumbnail right, it's something to do with games.
It does, but we should do the rest of the housekeeping first.
Which includes...
So I've accidentally segued a bit too early. But one thing that it does include, Carl, is that, obviously I do my streaming on the side, twitch.tv/Legend of Kanto. And just like I did last week, tomorrow I'm going to be streaming some Pokemon TCG Pocket, because people are still on top of it. I just wore the hat because I was cold, to be honest. It just so happens to be fitting for the plug I'm going to be making.
But Luke's wearing a Pokemon hat.
Yes, I am indeed. And
I'm also wearing a hat. I'm wearing a bright white Stetson that has Big Dick writ on it. Audio listeners don't know.
Audio listeners, that's exactly what Carl is wearing right now. But, something great for the audio listeners to experience, Carl, is me opening another booster pack live on stream. Because I had good luck last time.
You know what? I'm going to do the same thing. Because I got into it. I'm so annoyed you got me. I think I've got some boosters.
I got Carl in. But Carl...
You got me all in.
Chat, let Carl know that he's being very rude, because he won't add me as a friend.
I don't want anyone adding as a friend.
He won't add me as a friend. I'll work with him like...
Helldivers, right? When you try to, talk to me on PlayStation, because I've got all the privacy settings on. No one could talk to me on Helldivers.
Yeah, we have to set up a separate Discord every time. Even if it's just we're all in a private party on PlayStation, we can't talk to Carl because his privacy settings are set so high.
Is Joe why? It's because gaming is the one outlet where I don't have to deal with other people. So I want those settings high. So Lucas, if you're going to open a booster pack, I'm going to open a booster pack. So apparently I've got a free booster pack, Owen. What are you opening? A Charizard one, right?
I'm opening a Charizard.
All right. I'll open a Charizard one. How many pages are you going to scroll across? Let's go.
Well, you're going to have to put your phone a bit closer to the camera.
Yeah.
I just picked the first one, because
technically it doesn't matter. I'm going to open the first one then.
Because as true fans know, it technically doesn't matter at all. Carl got a brand new card. He got an Execute.
Let me figure out the focus on this so we can see. There we go. So I've got an Execute.
I got Froakie.
Yeah.
So I'm tapping. I got Ponyta. Carl, what did you get? Heliolisk. Okay.
Okay.
I got a Golurk.
I got a...
You got a Snack. Snack. I went with a Vulpix. Oh, a Kabuto.
Let's try and do it at the exact same time.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Last card.
I got Slowbro.
Oh, Frogadier.
Nothing. We got pretty shit pulls there.
We got pretty bad pulls, yeah.
Pretty wank pulls. We're not getting streamers like luck that time.
So if you want to help me get some streamers luck on Pokemon TCG Pocket, I will be streaming tomorrow as of recording. Just Thursday night around 10 p.m. UK time. And yeah, come in. We'll be talking like deck crafting and theories, and just talking about what cards people have got, and also, if people want to be nice and give me subs, then I will be opening extra packs, because that's the way I've used to justify. I'm not going to be buying booster packs, but if people want to give me a sub while I'm streaming it, I'll open booster packs then.
Pretty solid gimmick. And you know what? Great segue, because you've segued from the announcement of our Patreon, which is going to be asking not asking for more money, but it's going to be we're going to have goals that will support the channel, for which we will offer more rewards, and also have also, like you said, a gaming channel on there, but also the ways that you're getting that hustle running on Twitch.
Indeed you do. And I'm going to end the poll now for everyone watching. Actually, I'll just reiterate what the poll is there for I'll leave it up for another 2 minutes after I say this, so get on it. But the poll left in chat is the topic that I'm going to make a video on for my Patreon poll, because Mad Max and Tron were tied. So I'm either going to watch Mad Max or Tron for the very first time, the original movies, and make a video on that for my Patreon vote with topic for the month.
There we go.
Get your last couple of votes in there. Currently, Mad Max is ahead, but if you really want to see Tron, you can get your votes in quickly.
I'm just imagining Mad Max in the magnum opus getting chased on the light cycles. He's oh fuck!
That's a hell of
crossover,
Just
right?
a crossover, the Mad Max Tron crossover right there.
If you gave Mad Max like a Tron cycle, he'd crash that shit immediately because it wouldn't drive in the desert. Well, Luke, what are you talking about today?
Well, people will have noticed that I made, the timely thumbnail of Jack Black looking very Minecraft Stevie in the Minecraft
Oh yeah, definitely.
movie.
He's so square.
He's so square and blocky. It's unbelievable.
It's really nice for him to trim his beard and his hair.
It looks like they just got some random funny homeless guy in and went, I guess you can be Steve.
No, it legit looks like they just got. Do you know those shit posts people do where they like felt like, oh, so and so has been potentially cast as this superhero, and they just Photoshop like a recent headshot of the actor onto comic art.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like. It looks like a child's dress up costume of Steve, and they've just photoshopped Jack Black's face onto it. So what's the topic today then? Are we talking about the Minecraft movie?
Well, we're not, but we are talking about a list of films based on video games.
There was a lot.
There is a lot.
The majority are bad.
The majority of them are bad, and I will say from the looks of that trailer, that Minecraft movie looks like it's just riding along that usual rail of getting straight to another awful video game adaptation.
Yeah, so how much do you think people are annoyed, or how annoyed do you think the people who are making these things get about the idea of Fallout? Yeah. It's like, man, what did Fallout do right? And it's like, well, they got people who are fans of the source material, recreated it as closely as they could, and then cast the fittest woman in the world for the main character.
I mean, that's true.
Get tits out second one. It's like,
well, I mean, she was semi-naked.
Within 5 minutes, you could see her ass, and
she was half naked. She was in underwear.
You gotta fast forward through it.
But yeah, it's just Jonathan Nolan, isn't it? That was like one of the creators of the Fallout show.
I just know, like Ella Purnell. That's all I know.
I was like, I've seen one name, and it's one name that has.
I'll repeat what I said about it when it first came out. I heard good buzz, and I watched it after a night out, and I was so distracted by how attractive the lead actress was. I had to rewatch it again in the morning because all I remembered the next day is like, man, that actress is so good looking. And I put the episode back on and was just like, she's really good looking.
Ella Purnell is extremely good looking, but what really threw me off is I'm just looking up her IMDb now. Of like another thing that really recently came out. Sweet Pea recently came out, and they made her look so like normal.
Normal how? What do you mean like normal? Do they
like?
That's probably not a nice thing to say about an actress. She looks normal in this
one.
No,
but they when like you said you found her distractingly attractive in Fallout.
Oh, they dress her down.
They just dressed her down to look like very kind of disheveled, normal looking person.
Street, right?
Just a regular person on the street. And
person shopping in Asda, not a fucking supermodel.
Yeah, and she's still clearly just an attractive person, but just the way that they've dressed her down, they did a very good job of me being just watching the trailer that popped up going like, man, she looks way more normal than she does in everything else I've ever seen her in, right?
Yeah, and you didn't realise it was her until she opened her eyes and went, oh, it's her.
No, I did realise it was her. She has got a very distinctive looking face.
Yeah, she's very expressive eyes.
Yeah, she has. But
literally wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, right? Of like the bit's like, okie dokie. It's like they got the right person for this like overly chipper, like 1950s housewife aesthetic that the series is deliberately trying to skew and make fun of.
And yeah, I don't know how much they were involved, but the name I saw attached to the Fallout show, who is an executive producer, was Jonathan Nolan, who was one of the creators of Person of Interest and Westworld. So when Westworld was good, Jonathan Nolan got the credit, and when Jonathan Nolan left, that's when people credit Westworld to dropping off the edge of a cliff.
It kind of got a bit bad. And that's just the thing about Fallout, right? It's like, oh, why did it succeed? It's like, all they did is they used the universe of the games as a jumping off point. and then stuck to the tone. And the tone of those like Fallout games is very satirical, very tongue-in-cheek, and then uber violence is mixed with like the overly chipper visuals of like Vault Boy giving a goofy thumbs up in front of a nuclear missile that is detonating and like incinerating millions of people.
Yeah, and apparently as well, I don't know if you know anything about this, but apparently the whole thumbs up to see whether like a detonation is going to kill you, apparently that's not a real thing.
No, it's all bullshit, yeah.
Yeah. Which is a really cool story to tell with like the whole, Fallout Boy, the Fallout man, not Fallout Boy the band.
Yeah, it's they just give doing a thumbs up because that's what people would do in the 50s. It's like what you'd have like, it's like Big Boy, right? That the mascot with the burger, who like Pit Boy is like partially modelled after. He's the mascot holding up the burgers with a goofy look on his face.
Yeah, and
it's modelled on that, and it was retroactively added to the character.
It's originally very just stereotypical and satirical approach to like the Americana that they show within the Fallout
and the deconstruction of it.
Yeah, and then it became, actually Vault Boy's doing that because that's what we all got taught of it, the explosion small on your thumb and you're safe, but apparently that wasn't actually a thing that kids used to get taught or anything.
It also wasn't, even if it wasn't the intention behind the design. Similar to like the Apple logo, where there's been lots of stuff that's retroactively written about how clever the Apple logo is. Or like the Apple logo, people don't know, it's an apple with a bite taken out of it. And people, is it a reference to the tree of knowledge? Like, the first piece of fruit eaten by Adam and Eve that gave them the knowledge. Is it a reference to Alan Turing, the father of computing, who committed suicide after taking a bite out of an apple laced with cyanide as a reference to Alice in Wonderland? It's, and then the original logo had like a rainbow flag. It's, is it a reference to that? And it's because he killed himself because he was arrested for being gay. And it turns out, no, Steve Jobs was obsessed with fruit. And the designer was told, make it fruity, and they put a bite out of it because people kept thinking it was a cherry.
Oh, okay.
Well, people keep, is it a knowledge strike? The apple that hit Newton on the head. Because they had the apple Newton. It's like, nope, all of that is retroactively added. Steve Jobs liked fruit.
So remember
apple was a nice word.
Along the lines of either Apple, the, company that we know now,
yes,
and Apple, the music production company made by the Beatles. I remember one of them naming themselves after the other one in some petty squabble.
Maybe, yeah.
But I can't remember which way round that story goes. But that's not what we are talking about today. So the list of list of films based on video games. Sorry, is specifically films. So we can talk about video game adaptations that we like, but that was not the list I could find. It specifically was
there's probably not enough TV shows, right?
Adaptations. The TV shows seem to be mostly a newer-ish thing, but then you've got the Super Mario Bros. Show, for example, right?
I guess that was a cartoon for kids, but
Nintendo did a few. They had the Zelda animated one. They had Captain Power. Yeah. Wait, no.
But I think,
is it Captain Power? Captain N?
Yeah.
Captain N. Yeah.
For Nintendo Power, I think.
Nintendo Power and Captain N. Yeah.
Then more recently we had the Prestige television. So I had Last of Us, Fallout, was that Mass Effect TV show. There was the Halo show, which the Halo show isn't great as a Halo fan, but it does look really good.
When was there a Mass Effect show?
It's been announced. It's been produced.
Oh yes, there's one being produced with the one of the writers on Fast 9 is what people keep mocking, and it's okay, sure, but that's just one writing credit they have, right?
Yeah, but I think Prestige television seems to be the role they're taking with, which I think suits the medium video games more, considering that even the longest film is probably a fraction of what the video game it's based on story, the amount of time the video game story actually progresses over.
Well, think about the Minecraft movie, right? Not only is it not going to be fully blocky, because they couldn't be bothered, I don't know what the reasoning behind it is. Maybe they just think the blocky characters aren't going to sell as much as just seeing Jack Black's real face.
Have they seen how much money Minecraft's made?
Yeah,
Are they familiar with a little
right?
video game called Minecraft?
Yeah, and it's like, oh, but that'll attract the kids, and then the adults won't go see it. It's like, I think the
Are you
only
familiar with
adults,
the Minions?
I think the only adults going to watch the Minecraft movie, the adults taking their kids for the most part, though. Right?
All the YouTubers who are going to review it and say it's bad regardless of what they think of it.
Yeah, so only children are going to go watch it, Carl.
No, you were right the first time. Yeah. But it's always a baffling thing when it comes to like video game adaptations of they want to use the brand name and the associated fan base that comes from it, but then they don't want to put the things in that people recognize. That's the Minecraft movie of like, well, people wouldn't like the blocky characters. Like, why do you think they play the fucking game?
Yeah, they're on the front of the box. People make their own characters. Like, every Minecraft person has probably either created their own custom skin at some point back in the, older Minecraft versions, or they've just bought skins for their Minecraft character in more recent times.
But it's baffling. Oh, it's the thing of like, it does like the Halo TV show, where
Yeah.
I have no issue with the fact that actor in the Halo TV show took off the mask. Or the helmet, because Master Chief takes the helmet off whenever he's not on a mission. It's just that when we're playing him in the games, he's always on a mission.
Yeah,
what
right.
I didn't like is they just fundamentally changed the way his character works, and he's not Master Chief.
With Master
because he's
Chief.
not acting like Master Chief does in the comics.
Yeah, it's not
like the graphic novels and the games and the novels that they can pull from.
It's nothing to do with the fact that he does or doesn't have a helmet on. It's the fact that character just didn't feel like Master Chief to people.
Yeah. And it's just that, but him taking the helmet off is emblematic of them not really understanding why the games worked. And there's like a bunch of like story stuff they changed that's not worth noting because you've got to start talking about the books, and no one wants to talk about the Halo books, right?
Not overly, no. No, not really, but I have also just ended that poll, so we'll be making a video on Mad Max.
The maddest of Maxes, let's go.
I'm excited to see it for the first time. Never watched a Mad Max movie.
The funniest bit is if you've watched, watch Mad Max 1 and then watch Fury Road straight afterwards. Because in Mad Max 1, because they literally filmed it in Australia, and it's just on Australian roads they just go up and like pour buckets of sand on to make it look a bit apocalyptic. There's like obviously there's still roads, there's still greenery. Then you got like Fury Road, and it's just fucking just nightmare hellscape world.
I mean, fair enough, but Carl, I've already given myself homework to watch one movie, and now you're giving me a second movie. I'm just it's still homework. It's still time taken out of my day.
It's Fury Road. Whatever.
I didn't say it was difficult or bad homework. To clarify, but yeah, I just don't get it. Where like we were talking earlier. We mentioned like Wolverine and Deadpool, or Deadpool and Wolverine, and it took all the way to that movie with a dozen appearances from Hugh Jackman to get him in the Wolverine outfit.
And if you watch that Marvel Assemble thing, there's every single person who works on the movie says the same thing, right? Of as soon as Hugh Jackman put it on, we found ourselves asking, why wasn't he wearing this the entire time? The second he put the outfit, I'm like, oh, that works.
And even he admits, like, oh, I didn't think it would work, but then I put it on, and I immediately just felt fucking powerful.
And also thought, we were so stupid for not doing this from second one. It's like, they want to use this source material, but don't want to acknowledge it. They almost like, it comes across as the person making the show or the film thinking they're above the source material. Like,
it does, yeah.
Oh, it's just based on a shitty video game. Well, we don't need to like put any like references into that. But it's like, but then why are you making it?
It's so condescending. This IP has a lot of meaning and value, so we're going to make something out of it. And at the same time saying, but everything that makes this IP meaningful in any shape or way or recognizable
and they say,
is fucking awful, embarrassing and shit, and we're going to replace it all. It's like...
That's because the visuals... So like Wolverine wearing the costume, like, his costume doesn't make him the character that he is, but it's emblematic of the fact that the people making the movie don't think they're above the medium, right? And it's like, what's the line we always single out in X-Men 1? Where Wolverine's getting his like costume.
It's like he gets the costume and it's like, oh, what, you expected like yellow spandex?
And what's the thing that everyone said? Fucking yes!
Yeah, we did. We kind of did.
Yeah, we got the show, right?
We got the Logan look of like the leather jacket and everything, but yes, we expected the Wolverine costume to happen at some point.
It's always the most baffling though, because they put that in the same film where they gave Professor X the wheelchair with a big fucking comic book X on the wheels, and a guy who looks like a frog.
Yeah.
But they thought a man wearing yellow was a bit too far. So that video games, right? It said like Master Chief. Of like, we has to like, you can't emote wearing the helmet. How can you possibly, like, endear yourself to a character who you only see like wearing a helmet? It's like, did you watch The Mandalorian?
And also,
or play the games?
Have you experienced the last like 6 Halo games where people got attached to Master Chief, a guy that never takes his helmet off?
Yeah, and that was like the reasoning, right? Of like, oh well, you need to be able to see the actor's face to see them emote. It's like, no, you don't.
And this whole...
Are you aware of Darth Vader?
Yeah, true. Who was also forced to take the helmet off in the one moment you needed them to actually be empathetic, right?
Yeah.
But
that's more to see like how weak he was, right? It's the thing of like, it's removing the thing that made it look intimidating.
And him denying that facade of a character. In his last moments, he becomes Anakin again. I understand that there's like deeper meaning to that one, yeah.
But the deeper meaning to Master Chief in the Halo show taking his helmet off is that the actor had it written into his contract to see his face.
Yeah, the Judge Dredd, right?
Yeah, which is another thing. Yeah, it's like the Judge. That's a great example of like the adaptation of the comics where Judge Dredd never takes his helmet off because he is just the literal embodiment of the facelessness of justice.
Mm-hmm.
But Sylvester Stallone's like, but I want to take my helmet off.
I'm a big name and I want people to know that I'm in the movie. It's like, okay, sure.
Again, then there's some ego aspect to it of like, I am bigger than this thing. And like, okay, maybe Sylvester Stallone could argue he probably was a bigger name than Judge Dredd.
Speaking of ego.
Okay.
Did you see like anything around? I'm sure you obviously saw that it occurred, but the whole like Paul versus Tyson fight.
I saw
yeah. I saw
Jake
a clip.
Beat up a 60-year-old man.
Yeah. Like, I'd be embarrassed for him if he couldn't. Regardless of what 58-year-old man with arthritis it was, I'd be just...
It's like Mike Tyson could beat me up, but I'm not a heavyweight boxer.
I'm not claiming to be the best boxer in the world, and I'm not on steroids, and I've not been working out for years. Yeah, exactly.
I also didn't pay the 60-year-old man to take a dive.
Yeah. But just one of my favourite things is Mike Tyson, 58 years old, being interviewed by a 14-year-old YouTuber.
Oh yeah, I saw this. Yeah.
And then he's like, "So what do you think like your legacy is gonna be?" And he gives a pretty decent answer of like, "I think it's all fucking bullshit. We'll be dead, and it's all about ego anyway."
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that he's there, like, man, yeah, everyone's such a loser with such big ego as he's there taking like $10 million to be like, this, basically, as you say, to take a dive. And
he's there. He took that money to prop up the ego of someone of a fucking loser. Let's be honest.
That's the thing, is at the same time of it's propping up his ego and destroying his own ego at the same
I think for Mike Tyson. Yeah, I think for Mike Tyson, it's one of those things where you're never going to take away from him that he was like an absolute fucking animal.
You're never
going to take away those wins, right?
As much as he talked about legacy being bullshit, that's going to be a like speckle of a footnote that half of the people won't remember in a couple of years.
It'll be an asterisk on his Wikipedia page.
Yeah, whereas
it's an exhibition fight.
It's going to be one of those of fucking fair play. He managed to convince a shit ton of people that at 58 years old he should get $10 million to go in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
Whereas is like, career of all these knockouts and championship wins and whatever, it's still going to exist. It's still going to be there.
It's sort of like actors, right? So when Nick Cage did like all those shitty cash-in movies to pay his debts off, so is it tarnishing his legacy? It's like, no, because he's still got an Oscar for leaving Las Vegas, and as much as you want to make fun of his career, he can still look at you and go, well, I've got a fucking Oscar and you don't.
Yeah.
Like Martin Scorsese when he appeared in like Shark Tale.
Oh, yeah.
So isn't it always been in like his daughter's TikTok videos? Like, is this cheapening the legacy of Martin Scorsese? It's like, why directed fucking Goodfellas? What have you done?
I saw a TikTok a little while ago, and it was like someone interviewing Al Pacino and going, "Wait, what's that on your phone?" And he's like,
got the Shrek
he's
case,
got the
right?
Shrek case, just like 20 just giant Shrek faces on his phone case, and he's just like, "I don't know, my daughter gave me this thing and told me it was Shrek." I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Well, that's the thing. Again, if you get to a certain point where anyone who's making fun of your legacy or saying, does this cheapen your legacy? It's like, well, what do?
Mm-hmm.
You write articles about me.
Yeah. But yeah, it was very funny, Mike Tyson hearing like, oh yeah, it's bullshit, and like people just have massive egos. I was like, okay, Mike Tyson, sure, like, okay, we'll talk about egos another day. But to be fair, you know, he also has the kind of like wherewithal to be like, fuck it, I'll take $10 million to get punched in the face by Jake Paul and whatever.
And then stand there and have him brag about how he's better than me. Because in Mike Tyson, he knows like, well, if I was your age when we had this fight, you wouldn't be talking like that because you'd be in the back of the ambulance right now, and they'd be desperately trying to reconnect your head to your shoulders.
And I don't like Mike Tyson, and his history with a lot of shit is not good at all. I'm not trying to like glorify him as a person, but you know, as a career as a boxer, you can't take that much away from him. And I more just think it's one of those it's very funny that as a whole, that event, people were like, well, it's ruining the legacy of boxing. It's like, what fucking legacy of boxing? Yeah. It's been a shit show of just a horrible, awful, fixed as fuck sport for God knows how long. Like, that sport does not have dignity. Dear God. But anyway, moving on.
Well, also the thing we're talking about ego, right? The ego of actors or creatives of thinking they're above the source material. Mm-hmm. And as I said, the example of Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone was probably a bigger household name than Judge Dredd.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think the actor playing Master Chief in the Master Chief show, because I don't know his name, is going to have more cultural impact than Master Chief. Or the Halo, or the person writing the Halo series is probably not going to have a bigger cultural impact than Halo.
Yeah, I'm having to Google who it is.
The guy's name, yeah. And I'm not like, don't want to diminish what they've accomplished.
No. It's just that
these are huge, big IPs. It's like someone thinking they're bigger than Star Wars. There was a really famous thing where it was, I think it was Kiss, where there was a band that were asked to open for Kiss, and the lead singer's like, "No, we don't do opening acts," and their drummer quit and went, "No one's bigger than Kiss. Like, no one's too big to open for fucking Kiss."
Yeah,
piss off. There was just some things where it's like, it's part of culture.
Mm-hmm.
And video games are a part of culture.
I did look up, it is Pablo Tel Schreiber, who was the actor for Master Chief, and been in a few things that I've heard of. You know, best known for stage work and portraying Nick Sobotka on The Wire. But, you know, there were in a few other things as well, but not an actor in particular that I would consider, you know, an A-lister or anything. And as you say, like, the legacy of Halo and Master Chief are much bigger than they are at the moment, at the very least.
Yeah. And it's like a thing like creatives, like if like when they're making certain bits of media, there's oh god, what is it now? The Mario movie. That always, even though that movie did quite well, something that pissed me off is they use pop music instead of the Mario music. And it's like, again, that reads like ego of, I saw like there's the interviews where they were asked like, did you not want to use the Mario music? It's like, well, we're not sure if that translates or works well with an audience today. It's like, well, the Mario music has been consistently excellent and is recognizable 4 decades after it was created.
Yeah.
You're putting in music that is out of date by the time the trailer releases.
And also a combination of that and things like Holding Out for a Hero, right? I can't, the name of the single I can never remember, but just that song has been so overdone in the past few years that by the time the Mario movie had come out, that had been a needle drop in a movie 5 times in the past 2 years.
Yeah, and if you're going to do that specifically, you need to ask yourself a very serious question, and it is either can we do it better than Shrek 2, or can we do it better than Saints Row 3? And the answer to both questions is no, you can't. Because the I Need a Hero will never be better in live action or in a movie than it was used in Shrek 2, because they got the actress to sing the song, and Bonnie Tyler herself said Jennifer Saunders killed it.
Absolutely incredible cover.
And then in Saints Row 3, because it elicits a reaction that I've seldom seen in a video game, where everybody has the exact same. You can literally go watch playthroughs of this game, and you'll see people, because in Saints Row 3, I Need a Hero is used when it's the final climactic choice of go confront the big bad, rescue your homie. And you can go watch playthroughs where you'll see people drive towards the confront the big bad option. And then I Need a Hero starts playing in the background, and almost without fail, every person doing a playthrough of the game turns their car the fuck round and goes and rescues their homie.
I'm proud of myself for this one, because I remembered, for maybe the first time I might have actually remembered, that it is called Holding Out for a Hero. I always said I need a hero, because that's like the start of the song, right? Yeah. But yeah, it's Holding Out for a Hero, and I always got corrected on it, and I finally remembered, because I was like, wait, when you started saying I need a hero, I was like, oh, I got it wrong again, and Googled it. It's like, no, I got it right this time for once.
Yes. It's just, that's, people know what song they mean, right?
Yes,
and it's
of course, yeah.
Because they picked that. It's a good song.
It's a great song.
Over the Mario music that you own and has been iconic for almost half a century.
But this is the real big problem. Illumination did a very good job with that movie, I'll say.
No.
And it is one of the better, more just simple, good adaptations of a video game. Right? For a movie.
Not much was required of it.
No, exactly. But it kind of mostly just did what it needed to and didn't fuck it up, which is better than what most of the films on this list are. But the fact that, Illumination always need those needle drops of, like, the pop songs, that's the biggest problem.
They could have done a needle drop of any of the Mario music.
Yeah.
How much Mario music would perfectly suit a climactic action scene?
And I think it was it like they did a cut of, like, fans did a cut of the movie using the vinyl soundtrack where they actually had music from the games instead.
Yeah, and it's better.
And it's just better, yeah.
Because it's going to age less poorly, because now it's just using this timeless classic music that is recognizable to virtually everyone watching at home, because it's been a thing for, like I said, almost half a century, as opposed to a pop song from 5 years ago.
But Carl, speaking of the Super Mario Bros. Movie,
yes,
the first film on this list is, in fact, the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
It's one of the earliest video games that has a story, right?
Well,
there's earlier video games, but the first one that has a loose narrative that can be followed.
And we are talking about the 1993 one here, because for some reason, the DreamWorks Illumination film decided to name itself like the same thing in an allusion to this awful Super Mario Bros. Movie from 93. And I know that all of a sudden people got on that nostalgia train when the new DreamWorks movie came out and was like, is it time we reevaluate how good the Super Mario Bros. 93 movie was? No.
All that is just people, it's when they get to an age where they can start appreciating things ironically, but they don't know how to express that. So they're no longer a kid and just don't like it. They're no longer a teenager where they're being contrarian and lack the ability to fully articulate why they don't like it. And now they're an adult who has nostalgia for just dumb shit.
And also,
it's a pretty cool movie.
We're living in a world now where we have better adaptations of these video games, and we have a good actual Mario feeling Mario movie, and the shock of what the fuck is this has gone, because it's been 30 years.
Yeah, I said you can look back on it with rose tinted glasses, right? Like,
Yeah,
history is always viewed through a slightly hazy lens.
but I mean, yeah, Master Elements chat says like you love that movie, it's just stupid fun, but obviously when that movie came out, people were expecting a movie that reflected the Mario Brothers game, and it was not that, and therefore people were like, what the fuck is this?
Like, divorce of the context, right? It's like the prequel movie problem. That's why I said it. Of people forget how vitriolic the initial response was to that. Of people were sending death threats to the small child in that movie,
and
because he was
the
a bad
guy
Star Wars
behind the CGI silly goofy
Jar Jar
companion,
Binks, yeah.
right, of Jar Jar Binks, yeah.
But now with the gift of hindsight, where we it's no longer a film that's released in anticipation of like the 20 years, the 15 years of anticipation of the previous Star Wars movie. Now it's just a fun relic from 20 years ago that you have a slight nostalgia for.
Yeah.
Divorced to the context of its release, of course you can enjoy it more than people did back then. And then people see that and think, well, oh, did it get too harsh a review? So no, it was reviewed by people at the time within the context of when they were reviewing it.
And it, over here, I don't know, obviously, how much the scores are influenced by newer reviews, like more contemporary reviews looking back on them. But
yes,
the Rotten Tomatoes score is 29% for Super Mario Bros. And the Metacritic score is 35 out of 100.
That's fair. I'd look at it and go, it's not a Super Mario Bros. Movie. Unless you sold...
It's not at all.
It's got the energy of... Do you know, like, Angry Video Game Nerd, when he do, like, skits? It reminds me of, like, maybe not necessarily him, but when YouTubers would do video game skits.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, dark, if Mario was in the real world. And they try to do, like, cyberpunk Mario and made, like, a Blade Runner set in their back garden.
And that's the thing, right, is I can see how that is now a fun way to look back. Look how off they were with this movie. Look how silly and funny it is that they thought this was a good adaptation, and like just having dumb, goofy fun with it. I can appreciate that, but in the context of this was a highly anticipated adaptation of Super Mario Bros., which was this, bright platformer game that had like Yoshis and Koopas in it and stuff, and then it's like, the fuck is this cyberpunk dystopian nightmare movie?
Yeah.
It's just, that's one that's very weird to see people go, oh, I don't mind the people going, oh man, it's bad and fun and goofy, I like that. It's the people going, maybe we should reevaluate critically how good that movie is. It's like, no.
Yeah. It's like, congratulations on finally learning about, the ability to look at media from an analytic point of view. But keep in mind, the thing they're comparing it to is the review they gave it as a child. Just because you're reanalyzing like your perspective on it doesn't mean like the entire industry and world needs to.
So we're going through these movies, Carl, in a list.
Yes.
And it is listed in chronological like order of release dates. So what I'm going to do is just start listing names, and when one jumps out that you have something to say about it, let me know.
Okay. Oh, it's a movie that I've seen.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, the next movie I don't think either of us might have seen, which is Double Dragon.
I was about to say it'll be Double Dragon, right? Which has nothing to do with the Double Dragon games, which has a loose narrative, but it's just two brothers kicking the shit out of each other, and it's only really worth noting because Robert Patrick's in it, and he has bright blonde hair and a dyed beard, and he just gnaws on the scenery in every scene he's in. And, I can appreciate the camp value of it, but if you look at it from the perspective of you were paying money to watch this in the cinema with your kids, you'd fucking hate it.
Yeah, and I think that's where quite a few of these early movies fall into, with like, there is some dumb camp value to it, and also Master Elements, I wasn't trying to have go at you in chat, it's just, I kind of agree with your viewpoint of like, being a kid who has nostalgia for that Mario movie and can see it as just dumb fun, fine. But like the people who are trying to take it further than that are where I'm just like,
yeah,
come on.
Or when they ignore the context of when it was released, of like, oh, the effects are a bit hokey. It's like, but okay, they're hokey, how hokey are they by the standards of the time? Because that's like a common one, right? Of like, just all you need to think is, was the movie released in the mid-90s? Okay, if the effects are worse than Terminator 2
Yeah.
and Jurassic Park, because keep in mind, that's what a blockbuster movie, that's the level of effects people expected from a blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for example, like when did Double Dragon come out?
So Super Mario Bros. Was May 28th, 93, and then Double Dragon was November 4th, 1994. So the, one side and the other of like Jurassic Park and Terminator 2, right?
Yeah. And this is like, you're going in after seeing Robert Patrick in Terminator 2 in a movie that is billing itself as a blockbuster and using Terminator 2 to sell itself, and it is Robert Patrick with a dyed beard in an obvious like cardboard set doing bad martial arts.
Yeah.
When you look at it from that context, of course they got a bad review.
Of course, yeah, and I got.
You can watch it now because it's free on fucking Amazon Prime, and go, oh, it's kind of goofy, right? To see the guy from Terminator 2 just hamming it up.
When you've got zero expectations, right? You're just going in for a dumb time. It's like, yeah. But, yeah, not a good movie. Rotten Tomatoes are 12% and Metacritic 40 out of 100. And then the next film, I presume we both have seen, which is Street Fighter.
Street Fighter, again, terrible. It's a terrible martial arts movie. It's a terrible Street Fighter movie. But when you watch it knowing that Raul Julia only appeared in that because his kids love Street Fighter, and he just wanted to kick the shit out of Jean-Claude Van Damme on screen.
And was it? I can't remember because there's quite a few like well-known actors in this. Was it Jean-Claude Van Damme that was just like the offset a lot of the time for various different reasons?
Oh yeah, he was variously snorting cocaine and banging Kylie Minogue.
Yeah.
Which you've got to again. Everyone in that movie was having fun. Jean-Claude Van Damme got to have sex with Kylie Minogue. Raul Julia got to bring his kids like on a holiday.
If there's
and
any
they got to watch
reason,
him dress up like M. Bison and fly around.
If there is any like reason / excuse to not turn up to work one day, if it was well, I had a mountain of cocaine and Kylie Minogue in my bed,
and she was dressed like Cammy from Street Fighter.
It's like, well,
right?
It's hard to pull yourself away, right?
Also, as well, the fact that Jean-Claude Van Damme, without wires, did a flash kick. Fuck yeah. But like, they don't throw a single Hadouken. It primarily focuses on Guile, the white American, who they got, and they play a guy from Belgium to play the American guy. And it doesn't focus on like Ryu or Ken, whose name they mispronounce throughout the movie.
Yeah, talk about just something that did not show respect for the source material.
It was always a stupid video game. Who gives a shit about it? And it's like, I'm going to be honest. Street Fighter's probably had a better. There's probably a better career. Street Fighter's probably had a better track record than Jean-Claude Van Damme has as an actor.
At this point, yes, but Jean-Claude Van Damme was way bigger than Street Fighter in the moment.
He was, yeah.
And yeah, just the one thing I'll always, ironically remember about that movie is just the whole line that Bison says to Chun-Li.
Oh, Bison dollars.
Wait, what?
With Bison dollars as well, where he says, I'm going to pay you $1 billion, and he pays them in Bison dollars.
Oh, see, I didn't remember that part.
Julia's face on them. And they're like, these are worth, like, no, but they'll be worth, one Bison dollar will be worth 10 British pounds when I kidnap the Queen and hold her for ransom. Never forget that's his plan. You look up but you're going to
I'm making sure I get the quote right.
Get the quote exactly right, because
getting the quote exactly right.
Yeah, Bison dollars, baby.
Oh fucking hell!
It's a long one.
Right, TV tropes just come up with like an entire essay. Why does the quote not just show up? Okay, I think I've got it here.
This is Bison to Chun-Li.
So, they are talking about like Chun-Li in this scene is confronting Bison over the destruction of her village. But yeah, Bison says, "I'm sorry, I don't remember any of it." Chun-Li, you don't remember? Bison, For you, the day bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. For me, it was Tuesday.
And that line is so good, they literally wrote it into one of M. Bison's windscreens. In like Street Fighter 4 and 5 and 6, he will say that
And just
as one of his windscreens.
what
It's that good.
a lie of like, look, I understand. I came and ravaged your village and killed all your family. Like, that was every day of my life. It doesn't matter to me at all.
Well, there are those things out there's those quotes that go super hard out of nowhere. It's like, where's that from? Like the other one is like, pay a man enough, he'll walk barefoot into hell. Who said that? Voltaire? No, that's the guy from Gargoyles. Or the other one of like, if believing in this is wrong, I will face God and walk backwards into hell. That's a drill tweet.
Same guy it's those said, ones, like, right, of like the internet comments that just go hard out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that's like a drill tweet. The same guy who came up with like, I rev my motorcycle into a cloud of smoke and there's my corpse on the floor, turning the 4th of July into the 4th of shit.
Moving on then, Karl.
Moving on.
We have Mortal Kombat.
Again, terrible movie. A terrible adaptation of the Mortal Kombat games.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very fun for its camp value. But if you keep in mind, the Mortal Kombat movie came out in 1996, right?
95.
95. That came out a year before or around the same time as like Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park. And the effects for like Scorpion's little spear thing.
I think both of them are 94 movies, right?
It's mid-90s, right? Just
we'll clarify.
Jurassic Park was 93, I think, and Terminator 2 was 92.
Jurassic Park is 93, yeah, you're right. And Terminator 2, let's see who's got it. 91.
91, okay.
Okay,
so earlier than that.
For some reason, I thought they were both 94.
So keep in mind that, this movie came out 3 years after Terminator 2, and obviously it didn't have the budget of Terminator 2, but it was billed as a fucking blockbuster, and they're the kind of movies people are expecting from a blockbuster. That's the kind of action and just the quality of the effects, the quality of the sets, the quality of the acting. And the acting is just fucking horrendous. Acting is awful. The action's not great. The costumes look terrible. They look cheap. They look tacky. The most impressive thing in that movie is the Goro puppet.
No. The most impressive part of that movie is the theme song, Karl.
The theme song's great.
Like, let's not.
Okay, the theme song.
Mince words here.
The theme song's probably got a better legacy than the film. But
Mortal Kombat.
It's probably got a better legacy than the film. And the film,
yes.
Again, camp value is hilarious. I've got it on DVD.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I'd say, where all of these early video game adaptations fall into at best. To give them like the most just generous of viewpoints is just they all fall into like bad but camp and can be enjoyed in that sense.
They're like they are a curiosity or novelty, and I will say the Mortal Kombat movie is camp, and that's because it's camp, it's fun. It's in the Street Fighter movie. If like you've got M. Bison, Raul Julia, just swanning around like a dickhead in his dictator suit. It's funny because you know he's having fun. Compare that to like the Dead or Alive movie or the Tekken movie, which take the source material so deadly serious. And it's not even funny bad.
At least these are memorable.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're
memorable for being bad or cheesy.
They've got
bad effects.
Something going for them to the point where they are at very least memorable.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise Mortal Kombat, the first one, Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yeah, it's the guy who went and did like the Resident Evil movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Didn't realise that was the first video game movie he did, because afterwards, a few movies down the line in 2002, he then started the Resident Evil franchise of films.
And it goes hand in hand with that thing we mentioned earlier of, I think I am better than the source material, where he cast his wife as the OC he made up for Resident Evil. And how much do you buy into the theory that like Paul Anderson was convinced that they were going to put Alice into Resident Evil?
Oh yeah.
With how much that movie series focused on the adventures of Alice, you can just tell he wanted them to put her in the games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna write a better character than you did, and she's the worst fucking most Mary Sue-ass character I've ever seen.
However,
arguably the worst written female character in a mainline film.
I haven't watched enough of those movies to say one way or the other, but not great from what I remember.
People say like Ray's the Mary Sue because she learns how to use a lightsaber kind of quick.
Mm-hmm.
Alice gets magical psychic powers and beats every boss from every Resident Evil game without trying.
Yeah,
and is always like filmed with just the most amount of cinematic dominance I've ever seen. But and she's never wrong. She wins every fight scene.
Absolute full respect in terms of not a movie making standpoint, but just being a husband to your wife standpoint of like,
oh yes,
I'm gonna prop you up so fucking hard.
So I married my own OC.
Like that's what he just married his dream girl and put her in the main line for like every single film he made from that point on, and just made her like a supermodel action star. It's like fair play.
Yeah. And I'll give Mila Djokovic props for the possibly one of the smartest like marketing decisions I've seen from an actor. Where to promote one of the Resident Evil movies, they wanted her to run into a theater in full Alice costume, which remember is black leather.
Yeah.
And walk in with Uzis filled with blanks and open fire on the crowd as like a flash mob. And they proposed this after the Aurora theater shooting.
Oh god.
And Mila Djokovic just looked at the person who pitched it and went, "Are you fucking stupid?"
Yeah.
And they didn't do it.
Yeah. But in between Mortal Kombat and
Yes.
Resident Evil, we have in 97 Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which was just an even worse follow-up to a not great Mortal Kombat movie.
That's the one where they put everybody in.
Yeah.
So the first one had like, you had your Scorpion, you had Sub-Zero. The second one's where, even though it doesn't, their plot relevance is basically nil, they put Cyrax in, they put Rain, they put Reptile.
That's the reverence shown to the characters through the movie is not great, but they put them all in there.
They put them in, yeah.
But just
never forget they kill Sub-Zero with a bucket of water.
That's how you kill him, though, right? That's his weakness, a bucket of water.
But it's not even like they do it in a cool way. They throw water at him and it just kills him.
Yeah. It worked for The Wizard of Oz, Carl. People don't call The Wizard of Oz a shit movie because of it.
Yeah, and we all know the best part of that first movie is like the guy they got to play, besides the song, is the guy they got to play Johnny Cage, who's like 1-to-1 perfect, right?
What, Jean-Claude Van Damme?
He was based on him.
He's based on Jean-Claude Van Damme. He didn't
something Lindell, I think, but he was so good that for Mortal Kombat 11, they got him to reprise the role for a Johnny Cage skin.
So I remember them getting, they actually got Johnny Cage to have Jean-Claude Van Damme skin in Mortal Kombat 1, was it?
Yeah, they got Jean-Claude Van Damme to do that one.
Mortal Kombat 1.
For Mortal Kombat 11 again, they got the guy who plays Shang Tsung.
It was Lyndon Ashby that they got as Johnny Cage.
There we go. And then they also got the guy who plays Shang Tsung to reprise his role as Shang Tsung.
And also remember Christopher Lambert as Raiden.
Yeah.
Who just never
that voice.
shuts up about that movie.
Just Raiden who's smoking like he's 500 a day. I must consult the Elder Gods. It's alright. That kind of.
Shang Tsung actor. Oh, okay, yeah.
You'd recognize
Hiroyuki Tagawa. But I do recognize him, yeah.
Just a bit of like, your soul is mine, and the point that it's so cheesy. But it's got some personality.
It does have personality, but it doesn't have good review scores here, Carl.
He doesn't know.
And
well, not the album again.
Just Mortal Kombat 1 from 95, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. Rotten Tomatoes of 45%, Metacritic of 60 out of 100. So respectable.
It's that thing of I bet it got reviewed as it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun, right?
Right, but then Mortal Kombat Annihilation, 2 years later by John R. Leonetti, got a Rotten Tomatoes 4% and a Metacritic of 11 out of 100. So a full 49 out of 100 drop off for the sequel.
It's because the action is worse. They got between films, they fired all the actors because they wanted more money. And it's not funny. Whereas the first one is actually legitimately kind of funny because the guy playing Johnny Cage is just hamming it up in every scene he's in. Like, those are $500 sunglasses, asshole. And then just, bam.
At least the first one kind of knows what it is and leans into it.
And they do have Scorpion say, "Get over here."
And then yeah, Annihilation. Just I only watched that once, but I've annihilated the memory of that movie because it was that bad.
It wanted to be Power Rangers so bad.
But we also got Wing Commander in March 1999.
Nothing to say about it.
And then Lara Croft Tomb Raider in June 2001. Which
that is,
I think,
legit. It's the first good one we've mentioned so far.
Until Jesus fucking Christ.
Until
Prince of Persia: Sands of Time was the highest grossing video game adaptation.
Yep. So those Angelina Jolie, Lara Croft movies are the first good. It's the first good video game adaptation because the movie's legitimately just good. It's Indiana Jones. The story's nonsensical, but who gives a fuck? And Angelina Jolie looks exactly like Lara Croft, and she did learn to do a backflip while firing 2 pistols.
And I think there are elements that, like, I think a lot of people enjoy Angelina Jolie in those movies for one reason or another, but
2 reasons mostly.
the Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic would not agree with you that they were decent films.
I think in terms of video game adaptations, though, if everything you see Lara Croft do in one of the games, Angelina Jolie does in those movies.
That's the thing is, we talked a lot about the fact that some of these are half fine films, but they don't give any reference to the source material. I think this was the first one that actually did.
It was made by someone who played the games and went, okay, what is it about the games that people like? And it's the exploration of interesting locales, which they did. They filmed in a bunch of real-world locations that are very interesting. They cast an actress who looks similar to the main character, and then she trained to learn to do everything that the player can do in gameplay, such as a backflip wielding dual pistols while shooting a tiger.
The only thing that she didn't train how to do is a convincing British accent.
Yeah.
But to be fair, neither did Lara Croft in the video game. Like, Lara Croft's voice acting in those original PS1 video games wasn't exactly stellar either. Yeah,
but still, it's the first one where actually, when you're watching that, if you're a fan of Lara Croft Tomb Raider, you know it's a Lara Croft game. Whereas, like, if Scorpion or Sub-Zero didn't turn up in those Mortal Kombat movies, you probably wouldn't know it's Mortal Kombat.
And I think there's 2 different approaches right there back to back of Lara Croft Tomb Raider and Resident Evil that do an okay job of taking the reference material and doing 2 different things. Of like, one is very closely following a lot of what Lara Croft does, but just making a different storyline, whereas Resident Evil is taking the world of Resident Evil and putting a brand new like character and story in.
Yeah. And the first Resident Evil movie could have worked
it was all right
if the main character was one of the army dudes. If they made the main character either Colin Salmon, who gets like lasered, or Michelle Rodriguez as Reno Campo. And she's like the one like female soldier who survived. She should have been the main character.
And just because it's that first film where they do the laser corridor, right?
Yeah, which they referenced in Resident Evil 4 because they liked it that much. And
that was a cool scene.
It is. But and I said the tone was almost there right up until like told Paul W.S. Anderson's like, well, my wife's got to be the best character, right?
Yeah. And then, obviously after that we had Lara Croft Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life, which I always thought people considered the worst of the 2, but did get slightly better reviews.
It's because it doubled down on the set pieces, even if you don't like. So it's like you've got to admit, Angelina Jolie really did do all those stunts, and the stunts are impressive, and they were filmed with practical effects.
And I'm sure
just from that perspective,
she must have had a stunt double to do some of the stuff, right?
For some of them, yeah, but she did do a lot of it herself, and that's one of the things that they talked about in the production of the movie. Of like a lot of lip service and column inches were dedicated to how in shape she got to play the character.
Yeah. Like, it is quite a stark difference between seeing her in Hackers, a couple of years before?
Yeah.
And, like, a lot of those, like, late 90s movies that she got established in, and then Tomb Raider, I guess, being a, like, big action movie breakout, kind of big blockbuster kind of movie.
Also worth noting as well, a female-led action movie.
Because essentially, it's one of those weird, like, looping things now, isn't it? We've got Lara Croft or Tomb Raider, which was basically, okay, it's a British female Indiana Jones. in their video game. And then we had kind of Uncharted follow that up. And then there was like the Uncharted movie as well that was kind of like trying to be an Indiana Jones film, and same with the Tomb Raider films. And then Indiana Jones has now got a video game coming out, and is that video game going to be like Tomb Raider or Uncharted? And it's like, no, it's going to be like Wolfenstein. It's like, okay.
We just kill Nazis, so.
He does. That's the thing, is you've got to give it to Machine Games. What else can we make that we get to just punch a lot of fucking Nazis again? Fair play to him.
Yeah. And I'm guessing like the next few years he's just Resident Evil sequels.
Oh, well, it's not just that, Carl. It's the beginning of the UA Ball.
Just Uwe Ball. You know what? He got fucking paid.
He got paid for, I'm seeing at least 5
so see if I can know which ones he
here.
did. So I know he did a Blood Rain movie.
So he started with House of the Dead.
So House of the Dead, that's the one that I always give props, because he put a clip from House of the Dead, the game, into the movie during a gunfight. And it's so bad because they don't even try and edit it.
No.
And do you know what House of the Dead game series?
Yeah, just
any.
Carl's robot
movie based on that.
We'll give him a minute.
Would just be a crap dead. There's no way to translate that, wouldn't.
Don't know if he's realised.
No, the screen stops. So I think it's because we've been recording for so long. So if I just jump out of this call and come back.
Yeah, you went like full like stuttery robot mode for a minute there.
Yeah. So I'll jump out and come back.
We'll see what happens. But
it's just we've been recording for a long time, right? So
we have. So I should probably go through like a bunch of these quickfire, because this is now the giant block of shit.
For the schlock, because this is the straight to DVD era, right? When you this is where like they weren't theatrically released, you could just release them straight to DVD and hopefully just sell them that way. So go.
I'd argue that it's a long time before, like, the Resident Evil movies, like, chugged along and stuff, but there's a long time before we really get another important, notable movie. So we're going to blitz through. From House of the Dead in 2003, we then get Resident Evil Apocalypse, Alone in the Dark, Doom, Blood Rain, Silent Hill, Dead or Alive, Resident Evil
The Silent Hill one's worth noting. The Silent Hill one's good.
Is it?
Silent Hill 1 is great because it's similar to, you said, with the Resident Evil one, at least the first game, where it's not telling the same story, but it's heavily borrowing the themes and the visuals and
Okay.
It's like they're not telling a Silent Hill story, but they are telling a story that is very reminiscent and very distinctly Silent Hill-esque, and it's to the point where the visual look of that Silent Hill movie was so good that they ended up using that in later games, where they like the idea of the klaxon call signaling that Silent Hill was happening, and then the world melting away to reveal the Silent Hill world. The game makers really liked that visual and nicked it for the games.
Oh, okay. I'm not like big on horror, so I wasn't too aware of that one. Oh, Carl's dying. I'm gonna keep going after Silent Hill. We get Dead or Alive, Resident Evil Extinction, Postal, Hitman, one that I'm not familiar with, In the Name of the King, A Dungeon Siege Tale, and that's another UA ball.
Yep.
Then we get Far Cry, Max Payne, Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, Tekken, and like, God, it's notable in the fact it earned a lot of money but was not great. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. Couple more Resident Evil movies. That's the Jake Gyllenhaal Prince of Persia, yeah.
Oh yeah, the Prince of Persia, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, that's one that did not age very nicely. Yeah, another couple Resident Evils. Got Silent Hill Revelation. Is that similar to like that Silent Hill one then, or is that?
It's not as good because it's a bit longer and the story is a bit less. It's not as tight, but it does have the very creepy Silent Hill imagery.
Okay,
but it doesn't lean as much into the first Silent Hill movie as well, it deals with like quite a couple of very heavy themes, which is what the Silent Hill series has always been lauded for, of being able to tackle heavy themes like suicide or like, you know, just hating your dying of cancer wife, and then like dealing with the repressed like sexual urges you'd have and stuff. That's what Silent Hill 2 is about.
Yeah.
And the first Silent Hill movie deals with child sexual assault and like abuse of a child, and it handles it in a fairly sensitive way. And then Pyramid Head turns up as a cameo because he's a memorable part of the series. But I think it's like Masahiro Ito was even like, I didn't mind him using Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head has always been a symbol.
Yeah.
What he represents can change between games.
And then they fucking threw him in like 4 sequel games anyway, so
yeah.
The legacy and importance of Pyramid Head got ruined by Konami anyway.
Yeah. But then like the sequel, it's just not as tight a film. From my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I think the fact that you didn't know Far Cry had a movie fluke, just like a lot of these movies are just like, wait, these movies even fucking happen? This entire stretch in the 2000s is just like, what were we doing?
The Uwe Boll one was only made because he takes advantage of a German loophole where you get 90% of your production budget back if you film it in Germany.
All those.
So he just goes to people who own IPs and says, "I'll film a shit version of your movie." So I'll jump out to stop my robot mode.
Yeah, it's getting bad, so we might need to wrap up just because Carl's dying a bit.
Yeah, give it a minute that time. Do you want to jump out on your end, maybe?
Maybe I'll try that.
It's not like resets the call.
Oh, we're gone. Oh, we're coming back. Don't worry. Oh no. Oh no. This was a bad idea, Carl.
There we go.
This was a terrible idea.
What was?
It's all gone wrong.
Well, I think it's that project's from your end, right? So hopefully that resets whatever was causing some back-end Discord nonsense.
I'm hoping that things are seemingly back okay.
Yeah. Do you want to know what the really funny part about all this is, Lucas? I own the Far Cry movie, the Dead or Alive movie, the Tekken movie. Yeah. I own them all. I own the Mortal Kombat movie. I own all of these things on DVD.
Jesus Christ. I don't know why.
I love collecting bad, because people, we had someone in chat like, I didn't know that existed. Exactly. I mean, now I own it.
Yeah, fair. And there's a couple of movies here that I think like are worth mentioning, but the rest of them from this list are like not great, but I think like the important ones, and especially the ones that made like a decent amount of money, are like Warcraft, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, Sonic the Hedgehog and its sequel, and then the newer Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Yep.
Which the Super Mario Bros. Movie is not listed on here.
Maybe it doesn't count.
Because I guess they're not classing it as like being based on a video game somehow.
Maybe, but even the ones that aren't like direct adaptations of the story, like Silent Hill is not based on a Silent Hill story, it's just based on the universe. It's inspired by the world.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog and stuff, right? Like the first one is about like his fucking owl mum that never existed in any of the games.
Yeah. Oh man, do you know the best one of them? The best one of those is iRobot, where do you know sometimes it says adapted from or inspired by?
Mm-hmm.
You know what the one for iRobot says? Suggested by the Isaac Asimov story.
Suggested by.
Because the story of the film was written beforehand and had nothing to do with robots. Then they slapped a bunch of robots in and recorded a bunch of stuff after the fact to just reference the 3 laws.
Oh my word.
Because iRobot was a better brand name. So that's why at the end it says, suggested by a story by Isaac Asimov.
And I have to correct myself. There is, in the list, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, but it's listed under the animated titles.
The animated section, okay.
So there's...
Is there any other movies worth noting?
I mean, Borderlands in the sense of how much it fucking bombed. And speaking of which, Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
Hey, I've got the novelization of that.
I like how Final Fantasy VII Advent Children is NA on worldwide box office, but I presume that went like straight to video or whatever.
Straight to video, yeah. Let's have a look. Is it in this room? No, it's in my. It's on my shelf in the other room. But I do own Final Fantasy Spirits Within on, which the book and the movie on DVD.
Is a very boring movie.
Nothing happens.
That looked very nice at the time because they spent so much fucking money on it, and then doesn't feel at all like any Final Fantasy.
Do you know what? If you watch it after playing Final Fantasy 13, maybe with all like the weird sci-fi shit Final Fantasy 13 like try to fold into.
But even then, like Final Fantasy 13 had a lot more like traditional stuff like summons in it and things. Still,
it also had a story.
Yeah, it's
not a very good one, but it had one.
But it had one, yeah. But no, I think it would be nice to maybe follow this up, and we've got a lot more movies to cover. Maybe we'll do a part 2 at some point because
with the animated movies,
and the more recent ones, like I'd like to spend a bit longer talking about like Pokemon Detective Pikachu and Sonic the Hedgehog, but obviously we got caught up in the early movies for quite a while there. So maybe if the comments let us know that they want to hear the rest of the list, maybe we'll do a part 2 soon.
Well, I could just do it next week, right? I'll do it as the intro to next week.
Carl, keep people on the hook to, engage with us before we commit to, like, the second part.
Okay.
Oh, God. Honestly, don't go back to Final Fantasy 13. I did it, and I regretted.
But still one of the funniest intros to a Wiki Weekends we've ever done is back when we still did it on Fact Fiend, where you would play through all of Final Fantasy 13 in a row.
Yeah.
And I read out the plot synopsis of Final Fantasy 13 on Wikipedia, and you still didn't know what I was talking about. After playing through the game.
I spent a couple of weeks going through that game. So it's not like I played it over the space of like a couple of years and couldn't remember plot details and stuff. No, I had played it like the week before.
Because you were planning on making like a video essay about it, and you went, no, it's not worth it.
It's not even worth. And obviously, like, I'm not actually telling you that you're not allowed to go play it or anything, but just, I get it. I did the exact same thing of like wanting to refresh my opinion on that, but it did. It's not good to go back to.
If we get enough funding for a gaming channel,
I will happily sit there
play through
and play
Final
through Final Fantasy 13 again. Because I'd love to sit there and actually be able to talk with someone about
as it's happening.
What that mess of a game is.
Okay. That's that's the pitch. That's the pitch, right? Me and Lucas will play through Final Fantasy 13.
Oh, I'm gonna regret saying that. Oh.
No, you only regret it if you said we played the entire series. You're not playing Final Fantasy 13 too.
And I think that's a much better game, but I just don't care about Sarah and Noel. Noel.
Whatever, that's a story. That's a story for another day.
That is, and then we'll get to play through Final Fantasy Lightning Returns, which I do like for the fashion combat system, but that's about it.
No.
Oh dear God! But yes, we'll leave everyone to it, and let us know if you want a part 2 to this. But thank you all for joining. Talk about video games very soon, no doubt. Yeah, again.
Cheers, everybody.
Watching.